Similar way, if I want to follow the old scheme,
Vimal sir?
I think
Yeah, he'll be there.
he's there now.
Maybe Vimal sir put it as no something while live streaming.
Yeah, maybe, but he'll join in a minute.
Yeah.
So now Hiral bhai, जब तक विमल सर नहीं आते तब तक आपका अभी ऑडियो आ गया है जी फाइनली.
I think he will be joining. I think he joined हो रहे हैं.
हाँ हाँ join हो जाएंगे.
Wait a minute.
Somebody has asked for PPT. No, Sadashiv bhai, we are not having PPT.
Vimal sir has joined. He's on mute now.
yeah, I come.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. ये क्या है?
Sir, we'll join first. एक second.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Now I'm audible, sir?
Yeah, very much.
Which way I don't know, something was wrong. Okay. So if my income is up to 7 lakh, no tax. Moment it exceed more than 7 lakh, my basic deduction is only 3 lakh. And after that, their rate is prescribed 5%, 10%, 50%, which is not bother, which everyone knows. Now, in case I want to follow the old system, then my exempted income will be only 5 lakh rupee. That also income is up to 5 lakh. But I will able to claim deduction of insurance premium paid, mediclaim paid, bank interest, whatever under chapter 6A, whatever deduction is available under section 80, I will able to claim that. Whatever income which is exempted in section 10, that will be available in both the situations, old or new. There is no problem. The income itself is exempted, it is not part of your income only. In case my income exceeds more than 5 lakh, my deduction will be 2.5 lakh only. And then rate of tax will be applicable. Of course, if my income is under old system, more than 10 lakh, I'm liable to pay the tax at the rate of 30%. And in new scheme, I'm liable to pay the tax of 20%, whatever slabs are there. But on an average, we save roughly, if I'm not claiming any deduction in old system and new system also, then it work out to be roughly the benefit of 1,12,000. Now, friends, what are the further benefit in the new scheme? One, earlier, surcharge was in case where income exceed more than 5 crore rupee. And then surcharge was at the rate of 37%. Rate of tax is 30%, but surcharge is 37%. So finally, it worked out to 43% tax. Like dividend income, and it was exempted, it was not liable to tax. But when it became taxable, even Mukesh Ambani got dividend of 3,000 crore per year. So he also fall in 43%. So any person have income more than 5 crore fall in 43%. Now, if you following the new regime, then your surcharge will be not 37% on income more than 5 crore, but it will be 25% only. So end of the day, the final figure will be 39% and not 43%. But new regime, this benefit is available. Old regime, still you have to pay 43% only. Further, eligibility of standard deduction. But basic concept of new scheme was that you are not entitled for any deduction. You have to pay tax on the gross income. But under the old scheme, you were getting deduction, salaried employee were getting deduction of 50,000 rupee, 2,500 on account of professional tax. That will be available to new regime also. So whether you follow old or new, 50,000, this amount of standard deduction, 2,500 professional tax. If you pay, you will get the deduction. And standard deduction is otherwise for the convenience purpose only. 15,000 family pension. That also earlier available only in the old scheme, now will be available to new scheme also. Then there is another amendment, encashment of a leave. Government employee at a time of retirement, whatever leave they have not taken, they can encash it. Encash it in the sense, what is their last salary drawn? And every year 15 days can be accumulated as per their system. So maximum they can get 10 month salary, last salary drawn, multiply by that, whatever amount they get, it is exempted. And there is no limit. It can be 25 lakh, it can be 50 lakh, it can be 5 lakh. As far as individuals are concerned, there what happened, the limit was only 3 lakh of rupee. If you are getting more than 3 lakh rupee, then that amount was taxable. And because the 3 lakh limit was fixed 20 years back, when salary of person was only 10,000, 20,000, 5,000. Today's salary of person is 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh. So the 3 lakh have no meaning. So now they've increased from 3 lakh to state rate to 25 lakh. So any private employee getting leave encashment at the time of retirement up to 25 lakh of rupee, he is not liable to pay the tax. Then there is a section 35D. We all know after 1991, when our Manmohan Singh was the finance minister, India had open for everyone. Any outsider can come to India and do business. Indian can go abroad and do business. Because of that, when foreigners are coming to our country, we are having a lot of import. Now, lot of import, but our import is not telling with the export. We are hardly exporting many few items. As if you balance both import and export, then only petrol and gold, the two items take our value of these two items equal to our 100% export. So, because what happened, like, if you buy something from Japan, from Germany, you see the quality of the work. That quality in India, it is not there. So, government is after that, right, for last roughly 30 years, he improved the quality so we can, instead of importing particular item, we can export that. China is not maintaining quality, but he makes so much mass production, the item which will cost in our country 100 rupee, they will sell in our country for 30-40 rupees. So that is why we cannot compete with the China on that stage. Like one of my client produces a marble, polishing, finishing, doing all cutting, polishing, everything. It cost in my country, in our factory, even my cost is 120 rupees. But same type of marble, China is exporting to India at 49 rupees. Now my basic cost, so I can't compete with China in that way. So what many persons started doing, they are importing marble from China. Instead of 100% finishing, they say 90% finishing. Last policy is not done or not done properly. So import duty, etc. is very lower amount. And here they do last polishing, put our brand and sell it. Then become much cheaper than producing in our factory. So that way research was very, very important. Few years back, department said, hey, you spend in research whatever money you want to spend, and we will allow as a deduction. If after production you do research, it is revenue expenditure. Before production you start the expenditure, it will be capital expenditure, and it will be capitalized with the other expenditure. And finally, when you company start production, you claim in a certain number of years. That as per income tax department, which earlier it was 20% allowed, then 10% was allowed per every year, then now 5%. 5 years back, they said, if you do research your own, or you get it through some agency who is recognized by Central Board of Direct Taxes, then also will give you expenditure allowed as a revenue expenditure and a preliminary expenditure, either capitalized or allowed every year, depending upon case to case. Now, third item has been added. Any person who you are not doing your own, you are not getting through your person who is authorized with the CBDT. You are getting from the person who is not even authorized with CBDT. Then also that expenditure will be allowed. Only we have to file one statement with the Central Board of Taxes. Through this following person, I got my work done. So the purpose of research, I think very good amendment. Then promoting timely payment of micro and small enterprises. Now, government want to do, actually, because in Corona period or COVID period, 10,000 small industry, micro and small enterprises were closed, wind up completely because they made losses or whatever. Now, government want to, and big person, Amazon and various other persons are coming to our country. So, retail business is suffering a lot. Whether it is a manufacturer or trader or any enterprises, they are suffering. At least for manufacturer, they brought some scheme which fall under micro and small enterprises because their capital structure and various conditions are there. They have to register with the department, government department, where micro and small enterprises are registered. Then what is the amendment? In income tax, we have one section called 43B. Any government dues like GST, TDS, income tax, they will be allowed as expenditure only if you make the payment. Otherwise, they are not allowed. Bank interest, interest payable to NBFC, any government, any expenditure which we call provident fund, ESI fund, that all you to pay as statutory time provided or before filing the return. then you only get a deduction. So now what they said, if any amount is payable by me to micro or small enterprises, will be allowed as expenditure only if I pay before year end. Means I have to pay before 31st of March, then only I will get the deduction. Otherwise, that item will be not allowed to me as expenditure. It will be carried forward and will be allowed to me only when I really make the payment. So payment due to micro and small company will be immediately paid now. Now here question comes. For example, I purchase some material on 25th of March and they've given me facility to pay within 90 days as per my agreement. Then I'm not liable to pay before 31st March. So whether I will get deduction or no. There they put two conditions. If I have no agreement with the party, as simply I have purchased, then I have to make the payment within 15 days from receipt of the goods or receipt of the bill. So within 15 days I have to pay, otherwise it will be not allowed. It will be allowed in the year when I make the payment. Second condition, if I have agreement with micro and small enterprises, that under the agreement I have to pay within number of days, 90 days. Then condition will be, I cannot wait for 90 days. I have to make the payment within 45 days. If I made a purchase on 15th of March, then by 30th of April, if I make the payment, I will get a deduction. If I don't pay within 45 days, I will not get the deduction. If I don't pay within 45 days, then automatically, whether it is written in the agreement or not, I am liable to pay interest at the rate of 12% per annum. And that interest will be not allowed to me as an expenditure. So that this is a very good facility government is given to micro and small enterprises. Now, friends, next item we come to increase threshold limit for presumptive taxation scheme under section 44AD, 44DADA. Now, what is this section? All businessmen, whether they are manufacturer or trader or do anything else, if the turnover is up to 2 crore of rupee, yearly turnover of 2 crore rupee, then they can opt for the system. Whatever turnover is there, they pay 8%. So as an income on the basis of they pay the tax. Then they don't have to maintain any books of accounts. What they have to do is they have to maintain the details of the sales only. And no cash book ledger is required. Further, in case their receipt is 95% amount received by check, up to 5% they received cash, that is allowed. But 95% or more than 95. When I say check, means check include, bank transfer, RTGS, all system, not cash, other than cash. Then they have to pay only 6% profit and not even 8% tax. Now that amount have increased from 2 crore to 3 crore now. So up to turnover of 3 crore, I don't have to maintain books of accounts and I have to keep only simple record of the sales. Now 3 crore means what happened? After say 360 days, 60 days are holidays. Sunday, Monday, you nikal do. Piche bacha 300 working. So even I have turnover of 1 lakh rupee per day. I don't have to maintain books of accounts. And I don't think retail business wala will have turnover of 1 lakh other than season. At the time of Diwali, Holi, Rakhi, they did different thing, not otherwise. So it is very big relief to the businessman. Your expenditure can be cash, check, whatever you want. Because expenditure, you don't have to maintain the books of account. You are concerned only with the sale part. In case my turnover is, say, for example, 3 crore rupee. Now, at the rate of assuming crore, at 8% also my income is 24 lakh rupee. But really my surplus is 50 lakh rupee. My bank balance has gone by 50 lakh rupee. Then, one point of view, I don't have to maintain the books of accounts. So department will not able to reconcile. But for example, I received the last time my bank FD was 10 lakh. This time my FDR is 60 lakh. 50 lakh isi saal mein badh gaya. I have not borrowed anything from anyone. This is my own income only. Then I have to pay tax on a higher income and not 6% or 8%. But in case my money is not capitalized in the capital account, my expenditure, then I don't have to maintain the record of expenditure and 6% or 8%, whatever amount, check transaction 6%, otherwise 8%, I have to pay the tax. This is for the business, trader or manufacturer. Now let us come to the professional. What was the old law? Chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, advocate, doctor, engineer, computer engineer, all the professionals. If their income yearly receipt is less than 50 lakh of rupee, then also they were exempted. They don't have to maintain. If they want to maintain books of account, they no harm. But in case they say, I don't want a headache of this, then straightway they were allowed to claim 50% deduction as expenditure. So if my receipt is on 50 lakh rupee, I'm supposed to pay tax only on 25 lakh rupee. My receipt, whether received by check or cash, also is not relevant. My expenditure is incurred in cash or check, that is also not relevant. Simply, I have to add my income less than 50 lakh, claim 50% expenditure, it those 50%, whatever tax comes, we so. Now that 50 lakh limit now have increased to 75 lakh. So if my gross receipts are 75 lakh rupee, my expenditure will be half amount, 37.5. Balance 37.5 will be added to my income, and I pay tax on that and close the matter. So I think these two big relief has been given. But as far as this is all where you don't have to maintain books of accounts. But in case my turnover is more than 1 crore but less than 10 crore, and I want to maintain books of accounts because I have to want to keep track of the debtors, creditors, bank balance, this, that, all. And then my 95% transactions by sale is also by more than 95% is by check. My expenditure also more than 95% is by check. Check means other than cash. Then up to 10 crore of rupee turnover, I don't have to get my accounts audited. If I show profit of 6% or 8%, whatever prescribed. But if my profit is less than that, then of course I have to maintain the books of account, get the accounts audited. Otherwise, I can simply not refer to the books of accounts, but books I can maintain, then I will know at least what is my turnover. So I don't have to get the accounts audited. So I think that is a big relief to the SSC. Then Agnipath scheme 2022. For armed forces, government came with a scheme called Agnipath. So their person can contribute 30% of salary. There are many companies have given facility. Can the employee contribute 30%? Same amount, employer will also contribute. And after the particular period, employee will get the money back from the Agnipath with some marginal interest. Now here actually what happened, when employee, say let us say I am working with Reliance Industry. I am contributing my 30%. Reliance also contributes the same amount. Now what Reliance is contributing, it will be added to my income first. So my gross income will go up, salary will go up by that amount. And later on, what I contributed, what Reliance have contributed, I will get deduction. As per the prescribed deduction percentage by whatever is fixed. And whenever I get the money back, I have to pay tax on that. So Agnipath also is very good scheme. Relief to Sugar Cooperative Society from past demand. Actually what happened, we all know there are many sugar factory in Maharashtra. Majority are owned by politicians only. Few have even owned by minister. Up to assessment year 2015-16 law was, government used to fix what rate you have to buy sugarcane. And when government fixed the rate, in that amount, good quality of sugarcane was not available. So businessmen, what they used to do, they used to pay something extra than what government has fixed. Government has fixed, say for example, 200 rupees per ton. Then per ton. Then party will pay 300, 400 to get the good quality. So they can, it will be good quality of sugarcane. Then what happened? When party filed the return, ITO used to disallow. He said government has fixed 200, you paid 300 to 100 rupees disallow. And lot of litigations are pending up to assessment year 15-16. 16-17 onwards. So litigation is not there because government amended the law that businessman can pay whatever he want. But he cannot pay less than particular figure. More than के लिए वो problem नहीं था. Then, when such appeals are pending, now government has realized, and they will made a scheme. Any person whose appeals are pending because of extra amount paid to the farmers on account of purchase of sugarcane up to assessment of 15-16, then simply you have to write one letter to the income tax department, and department will all litigation will settle. The SSC can withdraw the appeal, department will give effect and allow that amount as expenditure. So I think this is also a big relief to a farmer at least, and sugar mills. Another sugar mill may government of India have set apart 10,000 crore rupee, which will be distributed to sugar factories depending upon their requirement. So that also all sugar factory will get the money, and indirectly politicians will get the money, because majority sugar mill in Maharashtra is owned by politicians only. Increase threshold limit of cooperative or withdrawal cash without tax. Now friends, in Bombay, we have nationalized bank, private bank, cooperative bank, all facility, हर गली के इलाके पे बैंक है. लेकिन अभी आप जाएंगे महाराष्ट्र के विदर्भा एरिया में, यहाँ पे टोटल 200 घर है, 500 घर है, 1000 घर है. अभी वहां पे बैंक के एक्चुअली इतनी नहीं है, बैंक है ही नहीं, समझो कोऑपरेटिव बैंक भी नहीं है. Those and even those persons are not, I'm talking Maharashtra, everywhere, even Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, where still 50-60% population is uneducated. They don't even know how to sign, how to count. So there what happened, government came with a scheme there, they can have some cooperative society. Cooperative society means, normally in Maharashtrian language, they call patpedi. Few persons come together, they can deal with the society. They say, for example, milk society, Amul milk society. Similar way, few persons will come, they join everything, whatever produce they made in agriculture, bring to the society. Society will take in a truck to a mandi, and they will bargain and they sell. And after little expenditure of society, they will distribute the money. So such societies, government give aid, for example, government will give an aid of 5 lakh rupee, and they can give loan to the various members. So as per the norm, they will distribute the money. When money come back, it will come, and they cannot, they don't have bank account, so it can be given in cash also. There, what was the limit? Their limit was, if society withdraw more than 1 crore rupee per year from the bank, then they were liable for TCS of 2%. And when society filed the return, they used to claim refund. Now the figure of 1 crore has increased to 3 crore now. So a cooperative society will able to withdraw up to 3 crore. I mean, not our cooperative housing society. I am talking about cooperative, Patpedi, that type of society, finance society, committee, rural village society. Up to 3 crore they can withdraw. Up more than 3 crore, 2% TDS will come. If the society is not assessed to income tax, then earlier they were allowed to withdraw only 20,000 rupee, 20 lakh rupee, and after that they were TDS of 5%. Now the 20 lakh rupee figure also increased to 1 crore and TDS at 5%. But now, if from 2 years back, it has become compulsory for every society to file the return. So if they file the return, they will fall in 2% only, and deduction of 3 crore will be given. Similar way, in our income tax, there are 2 more sections. Section 269 SS and another section 269T. Now, what is 269 SS? You cannot borrow money other than account pay cross check exceeding 20,000 rupee. Now, for example, I want to borrow money, whatever urgency may be, I cannot borrow more than 20,000. Person who is giving me more than 20,000, he is not committing any offense, but I am committing offense. I cannot accept. Having accepted cash or check under 269T, I cannot repay other than account pay cross check. So I have to receive my account pay cross check. I have to pay also my account pay cross check. Let us assume I have taken 1 lakh rupee other than account pay cross check. There will be penalty of 1 lakh rupee, 100% penalty. I paid another same 1 crore by cash, another penalty of 100 crore. The borrowing may be 1 crore, penalty will be 200 crore or 2 crore. And over and above taxation and interest and penalty, that separate will be there. So now what is the amendment? Individual case, still 20,000 is the limit. But for cooperative society, which we discussed just now, 1 crore to 3 crore, there they can withdraw up to 22 lakh of rupee and there will be no penalty. So they can pay to the member up to 2 lakh. They can take from the member in 2 lakh. In cash, up to 2 lakh, there is no penalty. So that also for villages, it is a very good incentive. Next point we take is incorporation of eligible startup for exemption. Startup we all know, very attractive. I think some TV channel may every evening some program also come, startup ka. You will know what exactly. Even I've seen many things. Somebody, one person in Dadar, he was earlier selling samosa in some tokri. Now he made one box of paper box, 1 samosa, 1 kachori or sandwich, 1 paper napkin, 1 sauce ka tape, and he sell in 50 rupee per packet. Now that is come under a startup and he's getting all the benefit. His income of 7 years out of next 3 year income out of next 7 year exempted. Now it will become 10 years. So he can select any 3-year, consecutive 3-year out of 10-year, and he don't have to pay any tax. Government give lot of loan at very nominal interest of 2, 3, 4% per annum. Again, when somebody want to buy his shares of his company, and even premium rate 10 rupee ka share 1000 rupees mein bhi le lega, then also there is no problem. Department cannot ask the question what is source of that and why he paid more or why he paid less. So number of benefits are there. So they all startup benefits were ending on 31st March 2023. They extended further up to 31st March 2024. Then conversion of gold and electronic gold receipt and vice versa. Now friends, for example, I have a gold, 2 kilogram of gold. I feel that keeping gold at home is risky proposition. Somebody may, there may be robbery, there may be this, there may be that. So I go to Government of India, Reserve Bank, and I say, I want to give this gold to you. And in turn, they will issue me a bond or some certificate. I hold the certificate. That time, there is no problem. Tomorrow, I need a gold. I go back to the Reserve Bank, surrender the certificate, and they will give me gold after following certain procedure of 4-5 days. Now, many income tax officers created problem. When you convert gold into bond, they say gold was some different thing and bond is something different. Gold you purchase at the rate of 5,000 rupees per 10 gram, 10-year back or 20-year back. Now bond is worth 10,000 rupees per 10 gram or 60,000 rupees, depending upon when you convert. So you pay different tax. And when you surrender the bond and take the gold, they take the value of bond and value of gold and different charge tax. Actually, मेरे पास आया गया कुछ भी नहीं. Earlier I had a gold, instead of holding bond. I'm surrender bond, I holding gold. पैसा तो आया नहीं किधर. So now government made clear, if you convert your gold into bond or bond into gold, you are not liable to pay any tax at that point of time. But really when I sell the gold, to outsider and get the money, that time it will be taxable. So let us take a situation कि मैंने 1995 में gold खरीदा था at the rate of 3,000 rupees per 10 gram. Let us say 1 kilo of gold ornament. I converted that bond in 2015 when price of gold was 30,000 rupees per 10 gram. I am selling that gold now at 60,000 rupees per 10 gram. So when I purchased, I paid how much? I paid that time 3 lakh rupee. Whatever rate I quoted on 1 kilo gold ornament, 3 lakh. But it was before 2001. So I can substitute the market value of 2001. Let us assume the market value of 2001 is 15,000 rupee, 5,000 rupee per 10 gram. So 5 lakh rupee. I take indexation 3.11. So 16 lakh हो जाएगा roughly. My sale value is 60 lakh. 60 minus 16 कम करो 44 lakh. 44 lakh I have to pay tax when I really sell the gold, not from bond to gold or gold to bond. So that is that amendment. Tax incentive to international financial services. Modi ji want actually our country to become financial hub. Because export में quality goods हो नहीं सकता है, finance में तो कुछ करना नहीं है, और इंडिया में तो finance के बहुत लोग हैं. There are number of chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, and particularly गुजराती और मारवाड़ी family तो माँ के पेट में account सीख के आता है, तो उसको तो finance का तो grip आ ही जाता है, बिगड़ पड़े grip आ जाता है. So there, and Bombay is the main item. So they in like a SEZ, these all finance companies were exempted in paying the tax, provided they deal only with a foreign party. Like for example, somebody want to lend money from USA, somebody only want money in the UK. USA वाला देगा UK को, but through India के through होगा, और India वाला बीच में पैसा कमाएगा. So then you have control. So if somebody needs the money all over the world, they will contact India. Somebody want to take the money, they will contact India, and India will become hub. Like Singapore है अभी जैसा. चाइना तो है, लेकिन चाइना में लोगों को कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है किस टाइम में क्या होएगा. इंडिया में सबको कॉन्फिडेंस भी है. इवन एज ऑन टुडे आप देखो, इंडिया सराउंडेड बाय व्हाट? पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश, श्रीलंका, अफगानिस्तान, सब दुखी है, सब बैंकरप्सी के लेवल पे आ गए. अमेरिका में भी क्राइसिस चालू हो गया है, रेट, इन्फ्लेशन, ये सब देखो तो हालिया खराब है. यूके में तो एक महीने में प्राइम मिनिस्टर ही चेंज होते जा रहा है. ऑस्ट्रेलिया का हालत भी खराब है. एक और कोई कंट्री जिसका प्रेसिडेंट ने कल ही रिजाइन किया, वो नाम मैं भूल गया, वो भी खराब है. ऑल ओवर द इंडिया, ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड देयर इज अ क्राइसिस, बट इंडिया में आज भी एवरीथिंग इज शाइनिंग. वी आर नॉट अफेक्टेड बाय एनीथिंग. वैसे ही ब्रिज बन रहे हैं, वैसे ही रेलवे नई नई आ रही है, इंडस्ट्री भी जा रही है, एक्सपोर्ट भी जा रहा है, इंपोर्ट भी आ रहा है, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज भी सफिशिएंट है. सो इंडिया इन ए लाइम कंट्री, जो फाइनेंशियल हब जब इंडिया बनेगा या बन स्टार्ट प्रोसेस में है, इट इज वेरी अट्रैक्टिव. ना उसका पॉइंट क्या था कि फाइनेंशियल हब के लिए व्हाटएवर गवर्नमेंट हैज गिवन फैसिलिटी, That was ending on 31st March 2023. Now that we extended up to 31st March 2025, कि 31st March 2025 तक भी कोई फाइनेंशियल कंपनी पूरा नया स्टार्ट करती है बिजनेस अंडर दिस पर्टिकुलर कैटेगरी incentive to financial services center international, then they also not then it also will be allowed. Instead of 23, it will be 25 now. A 15% concessional tax to promote new manufacturing company. Now, friends, as on today, if you see after you go back nearly 50 years back, our rate of our income tax in our country was 97.75%. You earn 100 rupee. After a particular slab, you are left only with 2 rupee 25 paisa. Rest everything was going in taxes. There was a wealth tax at the rate of 13%. If I have no source of income and simply pay wealth tax for 10 years, my all wealth is finished in paying wealth tax only. There was a estate duty on death of a person. If you inherited the property, there was estate duty at the rate of 85%. It reminds me of Singhania family, where father passed away, father, daughter, and mother. Everyone had a wealth of 10 crore. Father passed away, 8.5 crore went in stamp duty. Within 2 years, mother passed away in some cancer disease, another 8.5 crore. The daughter, which is supposed to have 30 crore rupee, or left with 13 crore only, 17 crore रुपया तो estate duty में चले गया. So वो level का tax था. Gift tax था 85%. If I give gift to my son, 1 lakh रुपया, I have to 85,000. I have to give government of India another gift. There was the expenditure tax at the rate of 60%. You go to Taj, spend 1,000 rupees, आपको 1600 को पेमेंट करना पड़ता था. और वो भी 1600 कितना आफ्टर इनकम टैक्स भरने के बाद का. तो वो सिचुएशन में डे बाय डे आई थिंक वीपी सिंह ऑनवर्ड्स taxes has come down one by one. Today, if you have a startup company, tax is only 15%. Private limited company, 25%. Private limited company, you don't have to claim weighted deduction, only 22%. Partnership firm, 30%. Individual, 30%. So cooperative society said, everyone is paying 15, 22, 25, 30, that percentage. Then why is cooperative society pay 30%? So government has given incentive to cooperative societies. Any cooperative society who wants to do manufacturing activity on or before 31st March 2024, start manufacturing after 1st April 23, before 31st March 2024, they are liable to pay income tax only at a rate of 15% and not 30%, which otherwise they are liable to pay. I think I'm clear on this point. Then friends, next point is relief to startup in carrying forward a setup of losses. Startup we have seen lot. Now, startup में क्या होता है? You start new activity. So there are chances that you may not make profit in the very first year. So that is why they say you claim 3 years exemption any 10 year. Now, startup, let us assume that there is a losses. Income tax में there is a formula. If you transfer your more than 51% shareholding to somebody else, some other person comes and present management का 51% से कम रह जाता है, then जो आपका losses है, whatever losses are there, they will be not allowed to be carried forward. They will be dead there only. So, but startup, they say, even management, old management continue, even shares for more than 51% is held by another person, तो भी आपका losses carry forward होएगा, खत्म नहीं होएगा. The very big incentive to the startup. Extending the scope of deduction of tax at source in lower or nil rate. अभी actually आप देखो, कंप्यूटराइज होने के बाद इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट हैव इंप्रूव्ड लाइक एनीथिंग. फॉर असेसमेंट ईयर 22-23, whatever returns I have filed in month of July, my 90% client have received the assessment refund along with the interest by 31st of August. That was we can never think of in the past India can have, that was improvement. So government board decided कि भाई एसएससी का पहले ज्यादा टीडीएस कट जावे, हमारे पास ज्यादा पैसा आवे, then SSC claim refund, then we have to give refund, again we have to pay him interest, तो government को भी loss हो गया interest का. So they say you claim only, pay tax only that much, which is your real liability. Maybe 5% plus minus is fine. तो उन्होंने क्या बोला, lower TDS का certificate देने का income tax में system है. You apply to ITO, he verify your tax is really less, then issue certificate. But for issuing lower certificate, lower TDS certificate, there were a lot of corruption in the department, a lot of wastage of time and energy. So now they said, we will make it online. You apply online with all the enclosures, how your income is less, amount payable is less, and your TDS is more. Then we online will reply within 15 days. If you need any clarification, we'll ask you, and then we'll reply. So power of officer has been reduced now, and it will be issued with less hassle than what it was earlier. Tax duty relief at the time of TDS under section 196A. When you deal with the foreign clients, what is the, and for example, they provide service in India, we provide service to them, or some export, import, whatever the item. Many items you pay interest for delayed payment, you pay commission to those persons. So whether TDS is applicable or not. Now, in Income Tax Act, what is written, whatever rate of TDS is applicable to resident, same apply to non-resident, provided no exception is given that item. So many places, you know, resident का tax अलग है, non-resident का ज़्यादा है. Many places same rate भी है. अभी non-resident से हम तो इंडिया में टैक्स भरने के लिए लाइबल ही नहीं है. तो उसके लिए उन्होंने क्या किया है? Out of 213 countries all over the world, 182 countries have treaty with the government of India. और वो treaty में all rates are prescribed. कि सिंगापुर से मेरे को कमीशन आएगा तो what is the TDS, and if Indian आदमी go to Singapore and provide services, what is the commission? So if treaty जो है, if that figure is less than the percentage prescribed in Income Tax Act, then treaty will be applicable and not Income Tax Act. This is the one type of benefit. Like for example, जैसा अभी मैं recently one client came to me, she is working in American embassy. Her salary is 4 lakh rupee per month. ऐसा yearly 48 lakh हो गया. Bonus करके 55 lakh हो गया. But she is not paying any tax in the country. I say how? They went into detail and found that there is a treaty between US and India, UK and India. So any person working, Indian person working there in their embassy, or USA ka person working in their embassy in USA, they are not liable to pay the tax. So here also, any foreigner working in a US embassy is not liable to pay the tax. Any Indian working in US embassy also not liable to pay the tax. And same is for UK. तो ऐसा करके you to see first what you to see TT normal rate, whichever is lower we are liable to pay. If TT is silent on that, then naturally no rate will be applicable. If TT there is no TT, then of course our rate will be applicable. If TT gives some concession, then that will be applicable. Then TDS on payment of accumulated balance due to the employee. If employee accumulates some amount from the employee and credit to his personal account, and that amount is returned, it will be paid only at the time of retirement or later on happening of certain event. Money is not given to employee, and some funds had been created. Like, so there what happened, they say, earlier whenever employee withdraw the money from that fund or that salary part or accumulated profit, rate of tax was 30%. Now they've reduced to 20%. Facilitating TDS credit for income already disclosed in the return of income. Now here very important is, let us say I raised bill to one of my clients for some work for 2 lakh of rupee. He paid me 2 lakh rupee. I deposited in my bank account, check is passed. Now what I will assume in ordinary course, he not deducted TDS. Had he deducted TDS, he will not pay me 2 lakh, he will pay me only 180. So I worked out my capital, my income, and I paid my tax and filed the return, and my assessment is over. When a friend who paid me the money of 2 lakh, my client, his audit is going on. His chartered accountant tell me that you not deducted TDS from the amount paid to Mr. Vimal Punamia, so ITO will disallow your 2 lakh of rupee. At that time, he goes to department and paid 20,000 rupee TDS, which I am not aware, I am not claimed. After 2 years, that 20,000 appear in my 26As. Now, if I claim after 2 years in that return, ITO will not allow, because TDS is allowed on the basis when you shown the income. Now, income I have shown in assessment in March 21. TDS has been deducted in March 23. Shown, and earlier there was no provision. If I apply to ITO, that ITO of 21-22, my 20,000 is not allowed, so the ITO will say, what is mistake from my apartment for record? You only claim TDS of say 5 lakh. Now you are saying 20 lakh more ho gaya. So we, whatever you claim, we allowed. 20,000 was not known to you, not known to us. So there is no mistake happened from record. And when TDS ka credit is not given, any mistake is not happened, appeal is also not maintainable practically for all purposes. Well, what is the mistake of ITO? So now law is amended. If any TDS has been deducted subsequently, I can write one letter to ITO for that year 21-22. Please rectify my order. And then he issue me the refund order of 20 lakh along with the interest. The interest will be paid from whom? I paid advance tax, say 3-4 years back. Party paid 2 years back. Party intimate to me now. I write to ITO now. Then my interest will start from the date of application which I make to ITO, or not from date of my payment or client's payment. But refund I will get. Earlier there was no provision, but now provision is very clear. So I have a right, legally I can claim the refund, which refund I have paid to them. Then friends, relief from special provision of higher rate of TCS for non-filer. Now actually आपको मालूम है 2 साल पहले there was law, any person who not filed a return for last 2 years and his TDS is more than 50,000 rupee and he has not filed the return, then he will be, department will issue one list known as a blacklist SSC for not filing the return, non-filers list. And उसका जो भी आदमी पेमेंट करेगा TDS का, वो उसका डबल TDS काटेगा. अगर प्रोफेशनल पर्सन है तो 10 की जगह 20, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर है एंड मिनिमम विल बी 5%, लाइक कॉन्ट्रैक्टर में 1% होता है तो इट विल बी नॉट 2%, इट विल बी 5%. रेंट में अगर इंडिविजुअल है 5% तो 10 लगेगा, अदर देन इंडिविजुअल है 10 है तो 20 लगेगा. सो दैट लॉ हैव कम. लास्ट टाइम देयर इज अमेंडमेंट दैट इंस्टेड ऑफ 2 years नॉट फाइलिंग रिटर्न इट विल बी टेकन 1 year नॉट फाइलिंग रिटर्न, उसको भी कवर हो जाएगा. दिस टाइम व्हाट इज द अमेंडमेंट? इफ दोज पर्सन हु इज नॉट लायबल टू फाइल द रिटर्न, either exempted by central government, exempted by Central Board of Direct Taxes, exempted by the treaty of the foreign company, or a non-resident whose income is not taxable in India, 2 आदमी को ये सेक्शन नहीं लगेगा. उसका TDS नॉर्मल रेट से लगेगा या TT में लगेगा, डबल नहीं लगेगा. Now friends, next point is clarification regarding advance tax while filing updated return. Now actually after electronic what happened? Everything is fast. पहले आप आईटीओ का रिटर्न भरते थे, 2 साल बाद स्क्रूटनी आती थी, उसके 2 साल बाद असेसमेंट होता था, उसके बाद वो ऐड करता था तो अपन कमिश्नर अपील में जाते तो दूसरा 3 साल गया. एक कमिश्नर नहीं समझता था, आप ट्रिब्यूनल में जाते तो 7 साल बाद तो हियरिंग नहीं होती थी, 7 ईयर के बाद हियरिंग आती थी. हाई कोर्ट में गए तो 20 साल लगता था, और सुप्रीम कोर्ट में गए तो और भगवान जाने क्या होता था. तो टाइम बहुत लगता था. नाउ एवरीथिंग इज ऑनलाइन, फ्रैक्शन ऑफ मिनट में इंफॉर्मेशन आता है जाता है. अब मैं मेरी ऑफिस में बैठा हूं, आप सब अपने घर में अपनी अपनी ऑफिस में है, और नियरली 100% है, ऑल आर हियरिंग मी. पहले अपने को सबको एक हॉल में जाना पड़ता था, हॉल में बात करनी पड़ती थी, हॉल बुक करना पड़ता था, और दुनियादारी हॉल में बुक करते थे तो नाश्ता पानी भी कराते थे. अभी अपने अपने घर में अपना नाश्ता करो तब और लेक्चर सुनो. तो अभी थिंग्स आर फास्ट. इनकम टैक्स में अभी देखो आप, असेसमेंट 22-23 का अक्टूबर में जो रिटर्न भरा, अक्टूबर का लास्ट डेट ऑफ फाइलिंग रिटर्न, उसका रिवाइज रिटर्न भरने का डेट था दिसंबर. खाली 2 महीना, नवंबर और दिसंबर. पहले ये 2-2 साल होता था. तो अभी अब आप जल्दीबाजी में आदमी ने कभी मिस्टेक से कुछ आइटम छोड़ दिया तो क्या करें? नॉर्मल कोर्स में अपन रिवाइज रिटर्न कर सकते थे, अभी रिवाइज रिटर्न भी पॉसिबल नहीं है, वो डेट भी गया समझो. तो उन्होंने लास्ट टाइम एक नया स्कीम निकाला था, अपडेटेड रिटर्न, कि यू कैन फाइल योर रिटर्न what item you have not shown, so that item also, and file updated return. अपडेटेड रिटर्न में क्या होता था कि अगर आपने कोई इनकम नहीं बताया है तो बता सकते हैं. अगर आपने कोई डिडक्शन क्लेम करना था और नहीं किया तो उसके लिए नहीं था. गवर्नमेंट को टैक्स मिले उसके लिए आप अपडेटेड कर सकने के लिए अलाउड थे, अपने बेनिफिट के लिए नहीं था, गवर्नमेंट के बेनिफिट के लिए था. तो आप अपडेटेड रिटर्न भरेंगे तो क्या होगा? समझो मैंने पहले इनकम बताया 50 लाख का, अभी मैंने बताया 70 लाख का, तो 70 लाख की इनकम के हिसाब से मेरा टैक्स इंटरेस्ट सब वर्किंग हो जाएगा. कितना टैक्स मैंने भरा है वो कम हो जाएगा, बैलेंस मेरे को भरने का है. अगर मैं रिटर्न 1 साल के अंदर भर रहा हूं अपडेटेड रिटर्न तो मुझे 25% पेनल्टी लगेगी. अगर मैं अपडेटेड रिटर्न 1 साल के बाद भर रहा हूं पर 2 साल के पहले भर रहा हूं तो मुझे 50% पेनल्टी लगेगी. वॉट एवर टैक्स एंड इंटरेस्ट इज पेबल, 25% और 50% टू बी एडेड टू दैट एंड आई कैन फाइल द रिटर्न. इनकम फ्रॉम बिजनेस एंड प्रोफेशन, वैल्यू ऑफ द बेनिफिट और परक्यूजिट. एक्चुअली क्या हुआ है, इनकम टैक्स में एक सेक्शन है 28. बिजनेस एंड प्रोफेशन में क्या होता है, जैसे मैं चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हूं, मेरे से एग्जांपल लेता हूं. मेरे बहुत क्लाइंट है, बहुत अच्छा रिलेशन है, दुनिया में फ्रेंड्स भी बहुत है, बहुत लोगों को ऑलरेडी काम भी करते हैं. तो होली दिवाली में आपको बहुत सारी गिफ्टें आती है. कोई आदमी फॉरेनर आता है, 5,000 रुपए का चेक गिफ्ट में देके जाता है, विमल भाई अभी आप मेरे रख लो, जो पसंद आएगा खरीद लेना. कोई परफ्यूम देके जाता है, कोई शर्ट पीस, पैंट पीस, कोट, ड्राई फ्रूट, स्वीट्स, ये वो आता ही रहता है. अभी तक रूल क्या था, अगर आपको कोई पैसा कैश में आ रहा है उसका तो आपको इनकम में ऐड करने का था, जो पैसा काइंड में आ रहा है उसको आपको ऐड नहीं करने का था। अभी अमेंडमेंट क्या हो गया, आपको पूरे साल में कुछ भी गिफ्ट आ रही है या कुछ भी पैसा आ रहा है, कुछ भी परक्यूजिट आ रही है, बिकॉज ऑफ योर स्टेटस, नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ एनीथिंग एल्स, तो आपको कैश का पैसा और चेक का पैसा भी ऐड करके इनकम टैक्स में शो करने का है। कुछ समझो क्लाइंट आ गया, उसने आपने उसका काम किया, उसका फीस तो दे दिया, पर वो और खुश हो गया, शाम को आपको गोल्ड का चेन भी देके गया 10 ग्राम का। अभी ऐसा बोलो 60,000 रुपए का हो गया। तो आपको पहले तो क्या होता था, जेब में डाल के अपन घर जा सकते थे, लेकिन अभी वो 60,000 रुपए आपको इनकम में ऐड करने का है और उस पर आपको टैक्स भरने का है। तो ये सेक्शन हो गया 28 अमेंडमेंट हुआ। सेक्शन 194 आर में क्या हुआ, बेनिफिट और परक्यूजिट पेड इन कैश और काइंड पार्टली और होली। तो पहले वो इनडायरेक्टली ये उसी चीज को डबल डबल एक्सप्लेन किया गया है अलग अलग सेक्शन के हिसाब से कि आपको काइंड में मिला तो भी ऐड करने का है। और कैश का मतलब क्या होता था, आज ये सेकंड अमेंडमेंट कैसा हो गया कि एक आदमी की बेटी की शादी हुई, बड़ा प्रोफेशनल आदमी था, बड़ा एडवोकेट था, उसको करीब गिफ्टें मिली उसके बच्चे के शादी के ऊपर, करीब 50 लाख तो उसको कैश में आया, कवर वगैरह थे, सब जेन्युइन था। 50 लाख रुपया चेक से आया और 1.5 करोड़ रुपए का डायमंड और गोल्ड और ज्वेलरी और वो आया वैल्यूएशन रिपोर्ट के हिसाब से, कि उनके पास बड़े बड़े क्लाइंट थे, ग्वालियर महाराजा, जयपुर महाराजा, बड़ौदा महाराजा, मैसूर महाराजा, जामनगर महाराजा, तो बड़ा बड़ा क्लाइंट था, बड़ी बड़ी इंडस्ट्री थी, बॉम्बे के सब बिल्डर उनके क्लाइंट है। तो ऐसा करके उसको अच्छी गिफ्ट आई। अभी क्वेश्चन में क्या आया, उन्होंने उसको बोला मेरी बेटी की शादी पे आया है, मैं कुछ भी टैक्स नहीं भरूंगा। आईटीओ ने ऐड किया, आईटीओ बोलता बेटी की शादी में आया, तो ऑर्डिनरी आदमी के बेटी की शादी में कोई 2.5 करोड़ का गिफ्ट नहीं आता है। या आप इतना स्टेटस है आपका इतना बड़ा और आपके बेटे की शादी में आया तो और 99% गिफ्ट आपके क्लाइंट लोगों ने दिया है, तो रिश्तेदार लोगों को 1100 रुपए और 2100 रुपए दिया है। डायमंड नेकलेस सेट तो ग्वालियर महाराजा ने दिया है, वो तो आपका क्लाइंट है। या बड़ौदा महाराजा तो आपका क्लाइंट है, मैसूर महाराजा आपका क्लाइंट है। ताजमहल होटल ने समझो 500 आदमियों की पार्टी दे दी फ्री में, तो बिकॉज ही इज योर क्लाइंट। तो ऐसा करके उन्होंने क्या किया, सीआईटी आईटीओ ने सब ऐड कर दिया, करीब 3-4 करोड़ रुपया। मैटर आया कमिश्नर अपील के पास। कमिश्नर अपील क्या बोलता है कि भाई जो कैश आया है वो तो ऐड होएगा, अदर देन कैश आपका एग्जेम्प्टेड है। अदर देन कैश मतलब उससे क्या रखा, ज्वेलरी एग्जेम्प्टेड है, जो पैसा चेक में आया वो भी एग्जेम्प्टेड है, जो आदमी ने आपके बेटे के शादी में पार्टी दे दी, 500 आदमियों को खाना खिला दिया, वो भी एग्जेम्प्टेड है, और इसे 50 लाख रुपए ऐड कर दिया। डिपार्टमेंट अपील में आया, एससीसी भी अपील में गया ट्रिब्यूनल में। तो कैश का मतलब क्या होता है कि कैश मतलब कहीं रोकड़ा रुपया आया, करेंसी आया, वो ही नहीं है, चेक से आया वो भी कैश में गिना जाता है। तो ट्रिब्यूनल ने क्या बोला कि भाई अभी देखो 50 करोड़ लाख रुपया उसने ऐड किया कैश का, वो तो गलत है, उसको ऐड तो करना था 1 करोड़ रुपया। वो चेक से आया वो भी तो पार्ट ऑफ मनी है, कैसी है, काइंड वाला छोड़ दो आप, पर चेक में आया वो भी काइंड नहीं है, वो भी पैसा है। बट लुकिंग टू द स्टेटस ऑफ ए पर्सन, और उसको एक ही बेटा है और बेटे की शादी में गिफ्ट आया है, सो इट विल बी ट्रीटेड एग्जेम्प्टेड, और अलग क्लॉज डाल के उसको एग्जेम्प्शन में डाल दिया और उसको फ्री मिल गया। तो अभी क्या हो गया, कैश काइंड कैसे भी आया है सब कुछ आपको ऐड कर देगा आज के बाद में। एक्सटेंशन ऑफ टाइम फॉर डिस्पोजिंग ऑफ पेंडिंग रेक्टिफिकेशन एप्लीकेशन बाय इंटरिम बोर्ड ऑफ सेटलमेंट। नाउ फ्रेंड्स, एक बॉडी थी सेटलमेंट कमीशन जो 1 फरवरी 2021 के बाद खत्म हो गई है। सेटलमेंट कमीशन एक कैसा होता है, जैसे आप गंगा जी में एक मतलब बिल्ली 100 चूहा खा के हज करने को गई, और यह एक आदमी ने दुनिया में सब पाप किया है, 50 तरह का, रॉबरी किया है, चोरी भी किया है, डाका भी डाला है, रेप भी किया है, और गंगा जी के स्नान में हरकी पेड़ी में जाके 7 डुबकी लगाता पानी में और सोचता मैं एकदम प्योर हो गया, मेरा सब पाप धुप गया। समथिंग लाइक दिस हमारी सेटलमेंट कमीशन थी, जिसमें 3 चीज कमीशन बैठते थे। और कितना भी अभी नॉर्मल कोर्स में अपन जो अपील करते हैं, अपन कैसे आर्ग्यू करते हैं, ये सब माई केस इज सो क्लियर, 1 + 1 = 2, आईटीओ वो भी नहीं समझ रहा है, पर सेटलमेंट कमीशन में उल्टा आर्ग्यू करना पड़ता है, ये सर मेरा केस बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है, मैं कितना लफड़ा करके बैठा हूं, मेरे को भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा मैं क्या करके बैठा हूं, और आईटीओ को भरोसे मेरे को आप छोड़ेंगे तो दे विल लेवी मार इतना पेनल्टी इंटरेस्ट लग जाएगा कि मेरे पास पैसा भी नहीं होगा भरने के लिए। तो मेरे को आपकी शरण में लियो, गंगा स्नान कराओ, इतना टेस्ट लो कि मैं भर सकूं, वापस खड़ा हो जाऊं और मेरा धंधा पानी चलता रहे। तो वो उसकी बॉडी थी सेटलमेंट कमीशन। 1 फरवरी 2021 को उसको बंद कर दिया, और बहुत बड़ी बॉडी थी, मतलब ज्यादा डिटेल में नहीं बताता हूँ, वो टाइम अपने में कम है, बल्कि बहुत एक ऐसा बॉडी था कि एक बार एक आईटीओ क्या बोला, नोटिस भेजा कि आपने 100 बिल्डर को कि 100 करोड़ रुपए आपने 2 नंबर का लिया है, 80 करोड़ इससे आपने खर्चा कर दिया है, 180 मैं ऐड करता हूं, और 20 करोड़ आपका मिला नहीं है, आपने किधर भी छुपा के रखा होगा, तो मैं आपको 200 करोड़ रुपए ऐड करके ऑर्डर भेजने वाला हूं। बिफोर हम उसको रिप्लाई दे रहे, हम सीधे चले गए सेटलमेंट कमीशन में। सेटलमेंट कमीशन हमने एक ही बोला, सर हमने 100 करोड़ लिया, इफेक्ट है, मेरा 80 करोड़ तो खर्चा ही हो गया है, तो 100 में प्लस 80 नहीं करके आप मेरे को कम 80 करो, माइनस 80 करो। 20 मेरा मिला नहीं है तो वो भी मेरा खर्चा ही हो गया है, तो एक्चुअली मेरे को कुछ मिला ही नहीं है। कमीशन बोलती है बिल्कुल बराबर है, इनकम टैक्स ने रेट डाल दिया, ऑफिस में, घर में, सब जगह, फिर भी नहीं मिला है, इसका मतलब नहीं है। और उसके बाद में आपने 100 करोड़ रुपया लिया है, नॉर्मली आप बिल्डर के 80 से 10% प्रॉफिट बताते हैं, तो अभी आपका 10 करोड़ में रखते हैं इनकम, 10 करोड़ रुपया टैक्स भरो, 3 करोड़ रुपया विद इंटरेस्ट, और आपका मैटर क्लोज। तो वो पावर सेटलमेंट कमीशन को था, कहां पे वो 200 करोड़ रुपया आईटीओ ऐड करता है, वो इन्होंने 10 करोड़ रुपया सेटल कर दिया, और इसमें भी पेनल्टी नहीं, अभी तो इंटरेस्ट लगाते थे, पहले इंटरेस्ट भी माफ कर सकते थे। तो वो बॉडी को 1 फरवरी 2021 में बंद कर दिया। जब सेटलमेंट कमीशन को बंद कर दिया तो बहुत सारे लोग हाईकोर्ट चले गए। अच्छा, बंद भी कैसा किया, अभी तक जो एप्लीकेशंस है ऑल वी गो बैक टू द आईटीओ, आईटीओ असेसमेंट करेगा, कमीशन कुछ भी नहीं करेगी, कमीशन को ताला लग गया। कुछ लोग हाईकोर्ट गए, भी हमारा एप्लीकेशन तो एडमिट हो गया है, वो तो अब लो। कुछ लोग गए भाई कि हमारे को अचानक बंद कैसे कर रहे हैं, हम तो तैयारी करने वाले थे, हम तो 2 महीने का हमको टाइम दो कम से कम, एक ऐसा क्या अर्जेंट है कि फरवरी से बजट के दिन से आप बंद कर रहे हैं, 1 अप्रैल से बंद करो। तो हाईकोर्ट ने बोला यस, तो अप्रैल तक हंड्रेड्स ऑफ एप्लीकेशन और आ गई उधर सेटलमेंट कमीशन पे। फिर हाईकोर्ट ने बोला कि भाई अभी हियरिंग कैसे करने का, कैसे नहीं करने का, स्टे तो दे दिया था एक बार, पर इंटरिम रिलीफ दे दी लोगों को। इसके बाद क्या हुआ, अभी गवर्नमेंट ने खुद ने ही बोल दिया है कि जो पिटीशन 1 फरवरी 2021 को पेंडिंग थी, जो पिटीशन 1 फरवरी 21 से लगा के मार्च 21 तक आई, सबको गवर्नमेंट डिस्पोज करेगी अप टू 30 सितंबर 2023 तक। तो ये बहुत बड़ी रिलीफ है, सबको गंगा स्नान हो जाएगा अच्छी तरह से, तो ये भी बहुत बढ़िया, एक बड़ा रिलीफ आ गया है। रियलाइजेशन ऑफ अपील टू द अपीलेट ट्रिब्यूनल। अभी एक्चुअली क्या, एक ऑर्डर हमारा सेक्शन होता है 263, कोई कमिश्नर को पावर है कि आईटीओ का कोई भी ऑर्डर कमिश्नर कैंसिल कर सकता है, प्रोवाइडेड इट प्रेजुडिशियल टू द रेवेन्यू है और इरोनियस है, मतलब आईटीओ ने कुछ दिमाग बराबर नहीं लगाया, और बिकॉज ऑफ दिमाग नहीं लगाने से गवर्नमेंट का फाइनेंशियल लॉस हो रहा है, तो वो ऑर्डर नॉर्मली कमिश्नर पास करता है। लेकिन कोई जगह पे कमिश्नर छुट्टी पे है तो चीफ कमिश्नर को भी पावर, क्यों, कमिश्नर जो काम कर सकता है वो चीफ कमिश्नर भी कर सकता है। आईटीओ कमिश्नर का ऑर्डर पास किया हुआ अपीलेबल है, अब सीआईटी अपील के बाद अपील नहीं करते, डायरेक्ट ट्रिब्यूनल में जाते हैं, विद इन 30 डेज वी फाइल द अपील। सीआईटी अपील के ऑर्डर के सामने वी फाइल अपील इन 60 डेज। लेकिन जब 30 डेज में करते हैं तो चीफ कमिश्नर का वर्ड वहां पे नहीं है। फाइलिंग अपील बिफोर द ट्रिब्यूनल और बिफोर सीआईटी अपील इज नॉट अवर फंडामेंटल राइट, दिस इज राइट प्रोवाइडेड इन द एक्ट, और इनकम टैक्स एक्ट प्रोवाइड है, इसके लिए मेरा अपील जाता है। तो वहां पे क्या होता है कि इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में जो प्रोवाइड है वहां पे कमिश्नर अपील के ऑर्डर के सामने अपील अलाउड है, चीफ कमिश्नर का ऑर्डर के सामने नहीं है। तो अभी उन्होंने तो कुछ अपील एडमिट नहीं होगी, तभी इसके अंदर अमेंड कर दिया है कि चीफ कमिश्नर ऑफ इनकम टैक्स के सामने भी ऑर्डर होगा तो भी वो अपीलेबल होगा, आप ट्रिब्यूनल में अपील कर सकते हैं विद इन 30 डेज। एक्सक्लूडिंग नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल कंपनी फ्रॉम रेस्ट्रिक्टिंग इन इंटरेस्ट डिडक्टिबिलिटी। अब एक्चुअली क्या हो गया है, एनबीएफसी का भी आप, मेरे को एनबीएफसी को इंटरेस्ट देने का 50 लाख रुपए, अभी एनबीएफसी को मैं इंटरेस्ट दूंगा तो मुझे अलाउ कभी होगा जब मैं रियल पेमेंट करूंगा, प्रोवाइड वाली बुक्स में मैं कर दूं सब कुछ, तो मेरे को डिडक्शन नहीं मिलेगा। लेकिन मैं एनबीएफसी का टीडीएस, तो आज मैंने समझो 50 लाख देना, मैंने बुक में एंट्री तो कर दी, इंटरेस्ट अकाउंट डेबिट, एनबीएफसी अकाउंट क्रेडिट, और 10% टीडीएस काट के 5 लाख रुपए वो भी भर दिया। अभी एनबीएफसी को तो मैंने पैसा तो दिया ही नहीं है, बुक्स में खड़ा है, एनबीएफसी को भी कैश बेसिस पे रिटर्न भरेगा, वो भी अभी टैक्स भरने वाला नहीं है। तो जब भी मैं एनबीएफसी इनकम बताएगी 2 साल बाद जब मैं पेमेंट करूंगा तो टीडीएस उसका पहले वाले साल में दिखेगा। तभी उसको भी फैसिलिटी दी है कि एनबीएफसी का टीडीएस आप लोग को जब भी काटने का है जब उसको पेमेंट कर रहे हैं, और वही टाइम आपको डिडक्शन मिलेगा, पहले डिडक्शन भी नहीं मिलेगा, आपको टीडीएस भी नहीं काटने का है। चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट फ्रेंड्स अपन लास्ट में लेंगे, टाइम मिला तो मैं दूसरे पॉइंट पहले लेता हूं कि वो अकेला इतना कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है कि 10 मिनट उसमें घुस जाएगा, तो पहले दूसरे पॉइंट पहले लेते हैं, फिर शॉर्ट में मैं आपको बता दूंगा। रेशनलाइजेशन ऑफ एग्जेम्प्टेड इनकम अंडर लाइफ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी। अभी लाइफ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी में क्या रूल था, पहले तो ऐसा था प्रीमियम के अंदर 1 टाइम पेमेंट आप करते थे तो भी डिडक्शन मिलता था, आप 20% से ज्यादा भी प्रीमियम देते थे वो भी मिलता था। कुछ साल पहले 20% का लिमिट लगाया, कुछ साल पहले, उसके बाद में अभी 10% का। एज ऑन टुडे लॉ इज कि प्रीमियम कैन नॉट एक्सीड मोर देन 10% ऑफ योर एश्योर्ड अमाउंट। मेरी पॉलिसी अगर 20 लाख रुपए की है तो मेरा ईयरली प्रीमियम उस पॉलिसी में 2 लाख से ज्यादा नहीं जा सकता है, तो वो तो पहले भी था, आज भी रहेगा। अगर उससे ज्यादा मैं प्रीमियम भरता हूं तो मुझे उतना खर्चा तो डिडक्शन मिलेगा नहीं सेक्शन 80C के अंदर, और मेरा जब भी मैच्योरिटी में पैसा आएगा उसको टैक्स लग जाएगा। दूसरा प्रोविजन अभी अमेंडमेंट ये हुआ है कि 5 लाख तक में, इनकम टैक्स में तो 1.5 लाख ही फ्री है 80C में, पर मैं 5 लाख तक अगर प्रीमियम देता हूं तो दैट इज ओके। कि बड़े पैसे वाले लोग क्या करते थे, बड़ी बड़ी पॉलिसी लेते थे 5 करोड़ की, 10 करोड़ की, और उनको क्या लगता है प्रीमियम मैं भरूंगा, डिडक्शन मिले कि नहीं मिले, मेरा कैपिटल तो कम हुआ अभी आज की डेट में, कुछ तो डिडक्शन मिलेगा, और मेरा मैच्योरिटी में जो बोनस के साथ पूरा पैसा आएगा पूरा मेरा फ्री है। और बीच में उसकी डेथ हो गई तो प्रीमियम तो भरा होगा 50 लाख रुपया मिल जाएगा, 5 करोड़ रुपया, 10 करोड़ रुपया, तो उसको सिक्योर रहता था। तो अभी उन्होंने क्या किया है कि प्रीमियम अगर मेरा 5 लाख रुपया ईयरली से कम है तो मेरा मैच्योरिटी में जो भी पैसा आएगा एवरीथिंग इज फ्री। अगर मेरा प्रीमियम 5 लाख रुपए से ज्यादा है तो मैच्योरिटी में जब भी पैसा आएगा प्रो रेटा बेसिस पे मेरे को डिडक्शन मिलेगा। 5 लाख तक फ्री है, मैंने प्रीमियम 10 लाख भरा है, और ये पॉलिसी का पैसा जब भी आएगा 5 लाख तक फ्री रहेगा। 5 लाख के ऊपर के कारण मेरे को जो आ गया वापस रिफंड, उसका मेरे को टैक्स लगेगा। और ये भी इफेक्टिव रहेगा 1 अप्रैल 2023 के बाद। अप्रैल मार्च 23 तक जो भी आपको करने का कर सकते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। 1 अप्रैल 23 के बाद में 5 लाख का लिमिट हो गया, मैच्योरिटी पे पैसा आएगा तो टैक्सेबल हो गया। देन फ्रेंड्स एक 45(5) सेक्शन है, वो भी काफी इंटरेस्टिंग है। इसमें थोड़ा बैकग्राउंड बताता हूं। लेट अस अज्यूम कि मेरे पास में एक प्लॉट ऑफ लैंड है, मैंने आज के 50 साल पहले वो खरीदी थी 10 लाख रुपए के अंदर। आज उस प्लॉट की वैल्यू है, मार्केट वैल्यू 100 करोड़ रुपया, और 2001 में इसकी वैल्यू थी 10 करोड़ रुपया। अभी मैं बिल्डर नहीं हूं, मैं खुद डेवलप नहीं कर सकता हूं, तो मैं समझो कि मेरे फ्रेंड है पुनीत भाई, वो समझो बिल्डर है। मैं पुनीत भाई को बोलता हूं, पुनीत भाई मेरा प्लॉट मैं आपको देता हूं, आप बिल्डिंग बनाओ, जितना बिल्डिंग आपका फ्लैट रेडी होके आ जाएगा आधा फ्लैट मेरे को दे देना, मैं बेचूंगा, आधा फ्लोर आप बेचना। हम फ्लोर भी डिवाइड कर लेते हैं कि पहला माला मेरा, दूसरा पुनीत भाई का, तीसरा मेरा, चौथा उनका। 150 पार्किंग है, मैं बोलूं पुनीत भाई 75 पार्किंग आपकी, 75 पार्किंग मेरी। हमारा अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो गया। अब यहां से तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, मेरे पास 1 रुपया आया नहीं है, 1 रुपया गया नहीं है, प्लॉट मेरा और चला गया है। कल को लिटिगेशन में घुस गया तो मेरा प्लॉट तो अटक ही गया, पुनीत भाई तो पैसा जितना लगाएंगे वो फंसेगा, पर मैं तो आज ही फंस गया पूरा। लेकिन इनकम टैक्स वाला मेरे को क्या बोलता था, आपने ये प्लॉट पुनीत भाई को दे दिया है, इस पे टैक्स भरो। और कानून के दायरे में बात बराबर थी। उसमें क्या होता था, वो टैक्स कैसा लगता था कि समझो मैंने 100 फुट का, मैं अज्यूम करूंगा मेरा 1000 फुट का प्लॉट है, और मैंने पुनीत भाई को दे दिया, आधा माल वो रखेगा, आधा मैं रखूंगा। तो मैंने इनडायरेक्टली क्या किया, 500 फुट तो एरिया मैंने पुनीत भाई को दे दिया, आप बना के बेचो, 500 फुट वो बना के मेरे को देंगे। तो मैंने इनडायरेक्टली आधी जमीन मैंने पुनीत भाई को बेची। आधी जमीन का क्या वैल्यू होता है वो मेरे को एक पकड़ना पड़ेगा कंसिडरेशन। उसके बाद मेरे आधी जमीन पे पुनीत भाई कंस्ट्रक्शन करके दे देंगे, तो वो कंस्ट्रक्शन वैल्यू क्या होएगा, समझो मैंने आधी जमीन पुनीत भाई को दी, उसकी अज्यूम करो वैल्यू 5 करोड़ रुपया होती है, पुनीत भाई मेरे को कंस्ट्रक्शन करके देंगे, उसकी वैल्यू समझो 6 करोड़ होती है। तो दोनों में से ज्यादा होगा, उस पर मेरे को टैक्स लगता था। अभी मेरे को रुपया तो मिला नहीं है, प्लॉट मेरा और गया, घर से मेरे को टैक्स और भरने का है, और समझो मेरे पास पैसा नहीं है तो मैं क्या करूंगा। तो मैं पुनीत भाई को क्या रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ, पुनीत भाई मेरे को 10 करोड़ रुपया दो, और मेरे को 50% एरिया मत दो, 40% एरिया, तो मेरा टैक्स भी चला जाता था। और मेरे को आज जब भी फ्लैट मिलते थे उस टाइम टैक्स नहीं लगता था, जब मैं फ्लैट बेचता था तो मेरे को टैक्स लगता था। 2017 में अमेंडमेंट क्या हो गया कि पुनीत भाई को मैं जब आज जमीन दे रहा हूं उसमें 1 रुपया भी मेरा टैक्स नहीं है। जब भी पुनीत भाई मेरे को फ्लैट बना के बेचेंगे, वापस देंगे बना के, वो टाइम फ्लैट का जो वैल्यू होगा एज पर रेडी रेक्टनर, ऑन दैट अमाउंट आई एम लायबल टू पे द टैक्स। आज मैं टैक्स भरता था, किसमें भरता था, लैंड वैल्यू के ऊपर, 50% लैंड वैल्यू। बाद में मैं टैक्स किसके भरूंगा, फ्लैट वैल्यू के ऊपर। लैंड वैल्यू अगर 3000 रुपया फुट है तो फ्लैट का वैल्यू 10,000 रुपया फुट होगा, तो मेरा गवर्नमेंट को टैक्स बढ़ जाएगा। लेकिन यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम, अमेंडमेंट क्या के लिए आया, ये तो लॉ पहले क्लियर था, 2 साल से चल रहा है। अमेंडमेंट ये आ गया कि पुनीत भाई ने समझो मेरे को 40% माल देंगे और 10 करोड़ रुपया भी दे दिया है, तो मेरे पास 10 करोड़ आ गया है। जब भी मैं 2025 में 26 में बिल्डिंग रेडी हुई और टैक्स भरने को जाऊंगा, तो लोग क्या करते थे, फ्लैट का टैक्स भर देते थे और 10 करोड़ पे टैक्स नहीं भरते थे, ये ग्राउंड पे कि भाई सेक्शन में लिखा है कि दैट मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ द फ्लैट प्लस एनी कैश अमाउंट रिसीव्ड। तो यहाँ पे पार्टी बोलता था मेरे को कैश तो मिला ही नहीं, मेरे को तो चेक मिला है सब, वो कैश 2 नंबर के कैश को गिनते थे और वो टैक्स भरते ही नहीं थे, तो मेरे को एडवांस में जो 10 करोड़ मिल गया वो बिगर टैक्स रह जाता था। तभी गवर्नमेंट ने अमेंडमेंट किया कि वैल्यू ऑफ द फ्लैट प्लस एनी अमाउंट रिसीव्ड, कैश और चेक और काइंड और एनी फॉर्म व्हाटसोएवर will be added to that amount and we are liable to pay the tax। तो खाली वो कैश वर्ड के कारण अमेंडमेंट आया। ये बहुत सारे लोग बोलते हैं कि कैश का मतलब खाली कैश ही ऐड करने का है, बाकी सब आपका फ्री है, पर वो मीनिंग नहीं अभी रहेगा। कैश के साथ चेक आया है, वो भी ऐड होगा। और कैश तो ऐसा भी सामने वाला दे नहीं सकता 20,000 से ऊपर, वो 10,000 ही अभी हो गया, खर्चा भी नहीं मिलेगा, बट लिटिगेशन उस पर हुआ और बहुत लोगों को रिलीफ भी पास पे मिला कि कैश नहीं मिला, इसलिए कुछ भी ऐड नहीं करने का, कुछ ऐड ही नहीं होता था। और उनको समझो, ये तो अपना एग्जांपल 10 करोड़ का लिया है, पर लोगों में L&T के साथ एग्रीमेंट होता है, महिंद्रा के साथ एग्रीमेंट होता है, गोदरेज के साथ होता है, ग्रेट ईस्टर्न या कंपनी के साथ होता है, तो एक चेक का अमाउंट 200 करोड़ रुपया होता है, प्लस एरिया होता है वर्थ मोर देन 800 करोड़, तो उसके लिए अमेंडमेंट करना पड़ा। प्रिवेंशन ऑफ डबल डिडक्शन क्लेम इंटरेस्ट एंड बोरोड कैपिटल फॉर एक्वायरिंग रिन्यूएबल। एक्चुअली क्या होता है, अपने को कोई प्रॉपर्टी खरीदना होता है तो हाउसिंग लोन लेते हैं। अपने को कोई चीज ये अपना क्या बोलते हैं इसको, रिनोवेशन करने का, तो भी अपने को हाउसिंग लोन मिलता है। मकान जब तक आपका रेडी नहीं है तो लोन का पेमेंट आपका प्रॉपर्टी में ऐड होते जाता है, कॉस्ट बढ़ते जाता है। एक बार आपका मकान रेडी हो गया तो आपको इसको कंस्ट्रक्शन अपना रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर में क्लेम करना पड़ता है, और सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड पे जो लिमिट है 2 लाख का, या लेट आउट के ऊपर जो एक्चुअल रेंट में दिया है तो वो अमाउंट है, अदरवाइज 2 लाख का लिमिट है, तो वो आपको सब खर्चे में डिडक्शन मिलता है। बहुत सारे लोग क्या करते हैं, खर्चे में क्लेम तो करते हैं, एट द सेम टाइम जब प्रॉपर्टी बेचेंगे तो वापस उसको ऐड करते हैं कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट। तो अभी इनकम टैक्स में अमेंडमेंट किया हुआ है, अगर कोई आइटम आपने पहले खर्चे में क्लेम कर लिया है, यू कांट क्लेम अगेन सेम आइटम। समझो मैंने बैंक को 10 लाख का इंटरेस्ट दिया है, मेरे को 2 लाख तो खर्चे में मिल गया है, 8 लाख मेरा खड़ा है जो मेरे को खर्चे में नहीं मिला पर मैंने पेमेंट किया है, और मैं बैलेंस शीट में दिखाता हूं तो 8 लाख में कैपिटलाइज कर सकता हूं, उसका मेरे को इंडेक्सेशन भी बाद में मिलेगा, पर 2 लाख मैंने जो खर्चे में क्लेम कर लिया है वो मुझे नहीं मिलेगा। दैट इज ओनली अमेंडमेंट। डेफिनिंग कॉस्ट एक्विजिशन इन केस ऑफ सर्टेन एसेट्स ऑफ कंप्यूटिंग कैपिटल गेन। ये कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट के ऊपर ही है, वो दोनों सेक्शन इंटरकनेक्टेड है। रिड्यूसिंग द टाइम प्रोवाइडेड टू फर्निशिंग ट्रांसपोर्ट प्राइस। ट्रांसफर प्राइसिंग केस क्या होता है, जो अपने इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजेक्शन अपने क्लाइंट के साथ हो रहे हैं, कोई समझो मैं आदमी हूं और मेरा बिजनेस चल रहा है फॉरेन कंपनियों के साथ में, गारमेंट्स का या और कोई कंपनी, तो मेरे को, और मेरी सिस्टर कंसर्न भी है इंडिया में या फॉरेन में, और उसको माल एक भाव से बेचता हूँ, फॉरेनर को अलग भाव से बेचता हूँ, या दूसरे लोग फॉरेनर को 100 रुपए के भाव से माल बेचते हैं, मैं 90 रुपए में बेच रहा हूँ, तो वो ट्रांसफर प्राइसिंग के अंदर अगर मेरे को लिमिट है उधर 0.5%, 0.2% अलग सिस्टम पे, अलग अलग चीज पे, तो उनको पहले क्या होता था कि 30 दिन का टाइम मिलता था, कि रिपोर्ट वगैरह देना 30 दिन लगते थे। अभी ऑनलाइन होने के कारण फटाफट होता है, तो घटा के 10 दिन किया, प्रोसीजर पार्टी है। डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन बाय बिजनेस ट्रस्ट इनटू यूनिट होल्डर। बहुत सारे बिजनेस ट्रस्ट होते हैं जिसके अंदर लोग सब्सक्राइब करते हैं और मेंबर बनते हैं, तो उसका अमाउंट, उसके अंदर ट्रस्ट का इनकम एग्जेम्प्टेड है, और जब मेंबर को पैसा मिलता है तो वो भी डिविडेंड इनकम पहले एग्जेम्प्टेड था, तो ये भी एग्जेम्प्टेड गिना जाता था। डिविडेंड का अमेंडमेंट हो गया, ट्रस्ट वाला अमेंडमेंट नहीं हुआ, तो उसको भी अमेंडमेंट किया है कि ट्रस्ट में से भी किसी मेंबर को पैसा कुछ भी मिलेगा तो वो टैक्सेबल होगा, एग्जेम्प्टेड नहीं होगा, बिकॉज दैट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज डिविडेंड, और जैसे डिविडेंड एग्जेम्प्टेड है ये भी एग्जेम्प्टेड रहेगा। टीडीएस एंड टैक्सेबिलिटी और नेट विनिंग। अभी रेस के अंदर जो अपन पैसा जीतते हैं ऑनलाइन गेम के ऊपर, और जो आपको लॉटरी लगता है, दैट अमाउंट नाउ विल बी टैक्सेबल। एक्चुअली फर्स्ट तो आरबीआई के हिसाब से तो वो खुद ही इलीगल एक्टिविटी, आप नहीं कर सकते। आप फॉरेन में एलएसआर का जो सिस्टम है उसमें जो जो चीजें अलाउड है वो सब कर सकते हैं, वो ऑनलाइन गैम्बलिंग तो अलाउड भी नहीं है आरबीआई के हिसाब से। लेकिन अभी अगर फिर भी किसी ने कर दिया है तो उसको अभी इंडिया में पैसा आएगा तो उसको टीडीएस कटेगा, पहले टीसीएस कटेगा, और वो अमाउंट टैक्सेबल होगा एट द रेट ऑफ 30%, को टैक्स भरने का है। इसके अंदर मैं 2-4 आपको एग्जांपल देता था, लेकिन अभी वो टाइम नहीं है, मैं ज्यादा एग्जांपल में नहीं गिरता हूं। और अगर कभी आपको आरबीआई को मालूम पड़ गया, पहली बार तो पैसा आएगा ही आरबीआई के थ्रू आने वाला है, तो वो टाइम आरबीआई को आप कंपाउंडिंग का एप्लीकेशन कर सकते हैं, और नॉर्मली आरबीआई जहां पे पेनल्टी 5 लाख होती है वहां पे 50,000 रुपया लगा के छोड़ देती है। इंक्रीजिंग द रेट ऑफ टीसीएस सर्टेन रेमिटेंसेस। अभी मेरा बच्चा फॉरेन में पढ़ रहा है, मुझे उसको पैसा भेजने का है, तो 7 लाख रुपए तक तो फ्री है, पर 7 लाख में तो फॉरेन में उसकी एजुकेशन होने वाली नहीं है। सो आई बोरो फ्रॉम बैंक एंड सेंड हिम। अगर मैं डायरेक्टली जो 7 लाख के ऊपर पैसा उसको भेज रहा हूं, मेरा खुद का पैसा, तो 5% टीसीएस है। अगर मैंने बैंक से बोरो करके मेरे बेटे को भेजा है तो 0.5% टीसीएस है। मेडिकल के लिए भेजा है तो उधर भी वही सिस्टम है। लेकिन मैंने समझो मेरे बच्चों को गिफ्ट भेजा है, मैं वहां पे मकान खरीदना चाहता हूं और कोई दूसरा एक्टिविटी करता हूं, घूमने के लिए जा रहा हूं वर्ल्ड टूर के ऊपर या दुबई या किधर भी, तो उसमें टीसीएस अभी 20% कर दिया है। ऑफकोर्स ये पैसा आपका डूबेगा नहीं, आपको टीडीएस के जैसे क्रेडिट मिलेगा, रिफंड मिलेगा, बट एक बार तो आपका पैसा ब्लॉक होगा। मुझे मेरी बेटी को समझो 5 करोड़ रुपया भेजने का है, 5 करोड़ तो भेज नहीं सकता हूँ, समझो 1 करोड़ भेजना है तो मेरे को 1 करोड़ और 20 लाख का अरेंजमेंट करना पड़ेगा। लिमिटिंग द रोल ओवर बेनिफिट क्लेम अंडर सेक्शन 50, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। इसके अंदर क्या हुआ है, एक इनकम टैक्स में सेक्शन है 54। मैं अगर कोई भी मकान बेचता हूं और कैपिटल गेन करता हूं तो 12 महीने पहले या 2 साल के अंदर रेडीमेड मकान लिया तो मुझे खाली प्रॉफिट इन्वेस्ट करने का, बेसिक कॉस्ट मेरा एग्जेम्पशन है। अगर मैं बिल्डर से लेता हूं तो मुझे 3 साल में लेने का है, उसको पूरा करने का है। दूसरा सेक्शन है 54F, मेरे को रहने का मकान नहीं है और मैं मकान नहीं कुछ भी चीज बेचता हूं, ऑफिस बेचता हूं, ज्वेलरी बेचता हूं, जैसे गाला बेचता हूं, दुकान बेचता हूं, ज्वेलरी बेचता हूं, शेयर्स बेचता हूं, कुछ भी बेचता हूं, और वो बेचने का पैसा मुझे आएगा वो भी 1 साल पहले, 2 साल बाद में और 3 साल में बिल्डर के साथ मैं नया मकान खरीद सकता हूं, तो 54F में भी मेरे को टैक्स नहीं लगता है। अगर मेरे पास में एक मकान ऑलरेडी है तो मैं दूसरा मकान भी 54F में खरीद सकता हूं। मेरे पास 2 मकान ऑलरेडी है तो तीसरा मकान मैं नहीं खरीद सकता हूं, ऐसा एक्ट में लिखा पड़ा है। अभी जैसा मैंने एग्जांपल बता रहा हूं टाइम बचाने के लिए, इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोविजन है। मेरे क्लाइंट ने 1947 में दिल्ली में 11 एकड़ जमीन खरीदी थी 100 रुपया एकड़ के भाव से। 1100 रुपए का इन्वेस्टमेंट था 1947 अगस्त के बाद का, पाकिस्तान से आने के बाद का। फिर वो आदमी बॉम्बे में सेटल हो गया, वो जमीन उसका भाई संभाल रहा था, वहां पे अंकल का बेटा था। अभी उसने वो जमीन 275 करोड़ रुपए में बेची। लिया था 100 करोड़ रुपया एकड़, 100 रुपया एकड़, अभी बेचा कितना 25 करोड़ रुपया एकड़। अभी 275 उसको मिला, मेरे पास आया तो मैंने बोला देख भाई 23.92% टैक्स लगेगा, 20% टैक्स है, 15% उस पर सरचार्ज है, 23% हो गया, उस पर 4% एजुकेशन सेस है, 23.92 भर दे, तेरा जान छूट जाएगा। वो बोलेगा टैक्स तो मेरे को 1 रुपया भी भरने का नहीं है। तो उसने क्या किया, मैंने बोला 50 लाख बॉन्ड में डाले। अभी 275 करोड़ रुपए के सामने 50 लाख कोई बड़ी फिगर नहीं दिखती है। तो व्हाट ही हैज डन, उसने एक बंगलो खरीदा बांद्रा में 275 करोड़ में, और वो 3 साल तक बंगलो को रखेगा, 1 रुपया भी उसको टैक्स नहीं भरना पड़ा। अभी वो 3 साल बाद वहां पे बिल्डिंग बनाएगा, टॉप फ्लोर रखेगा खुद का, 1-2 फ्लोर भाड़े पे देगा, बाकी का बेच देगा। तो मेरा कहने तो, और अभी नया अमेंडमेंट क्या आ गया है, अमेंडमेंट आया है 1 अप्रैल 2023 के बाद में 10 करोड़ से ज्यादा आपका बेनिफिट आप नहीं ले सकते। 10 करोड़ रुपए तक ही आपको बेनिफिट मिलेगा। लेटर अज्यूम कि मेरा एक मकान है, मैंने 2 लाख रुपए में 1980 में लिया था मलबार हिल में, आज मेरा मकान का वैल्यू 20 करोड़ रुपया है। आज मैं वो मकान बेचता हूं, मुझे 20 करोड़ रुपया मिलता है। 88 में लिया था तो मुझे यहाँ पे 2001 का वैल्यू का सब्स्टिट्यूशन मिलेगा। लेटर से 2001 में वैल्यू उसकी 1.5 करोड़ रुपया होती है, 3.11 से मैं मल्टीप्लाई करूंगा तो 5 करोड़ रुपया रफली मेरा एग्जेम्प्टेड हो गया। तो 20 करोड़ में 5 करोड़ तो फ्री हुआ, पीछे बचा 15 करोड़। अगर मैं दूसरा मकान लेता हूं 15 करोड़ में, मार्च के पहले तो मेरा पूरा फ्री है, मार्च के बाद लेता हूं अप्रैल के बाद तो मुझे 10 करोड़ फ्री मिलेगा, 5 करोड़ पे मेरे को टैक्स लगेगा। आई थिंक आई एम क्लियर, क्योंकि बजट आने के बाद मैक्सिमम क्वेश्चन मेरे को इसी पॉइंट पे आए मेरे क्लाइंट लोगों के। ये हो गया स्पेशल प्रोविजन फॉर टैक्सेशन ऑफ कैपिटल गेन इन केस ऑफ मार्केट लिंक्ड डिबेंचर। नाउ एक्चुअली क्या हुआ है, डिबेंचर का इंटरेस्ट आता है, वो भी लोग डिविडेंड समझ के, डिविडेंड में जो 10% टैक्स लगता है उसके अंदर पकड़ लेते थे। अभी उन्होंने प्रोविजन किया वो वहां से नहीं, डिविडेंड में काउंट नहीं होगा डिबेंचर का इंटरेस्ट, वो आपको नॉर्मल इनकम में जाएगा, यू टू पे टैक्स ऑन दैट, और वो नॉर्मल इनकम का जो रेट ऑफ टैक्स में आप स्लैब में आते हैं वो हिसाब से लगेगा। पेनल्टी फॉर फर्निशिंग इनएक्यूरेट स्टेटमेंट ऑफ एवरी एसएससी को जिसका पर्टिकुलर टाइप का टर्नओवर है, लाइक ज्वेलरी का है, बिल्डर है, फ्रीज टीवी में बिजनेस करता है या ऐसा टाइप का बिजनेस है, तो उसको एनुअल रिटर्न भरना पड़ता है, इन्फॉर्मेशन के कौन से आदमी ने कभी कितना मकान खरीदा और कितना आइटम लिया, मकान वाला मकान, ज्वेलरी वाला ज्वेलरी, और आदमी का नाम क्या है, एड्रेस क्या है, पैन नंबर क्या है और कितना वैल्यू है। तो उसका जो फॉर्म आप नहीं भरते हैं, पहले बिगनिंग में फॉर्म आया था 8-10 साल पहले, तो उन्होंने बोला आपको फॉर्म भरने का है, बाद में उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट किया जो नहीं भरेगा उसको 100 रुपया पर डे पेनल्टी, फिर आया अमेंडमेंट 200 रुपया पेनल्टी, लास्ट बजट में था 500 रुपया पेनल्टी, अभी उन्होंने बोला 500 के अलावा भी 5000 रुपया और लगेगा टोकन पेनल्टी। तो सेम रूल वाला ही कंटिन्यू है। Requisite when paid in case of kind. I think it's a friend इंपॉर्टेंट कोई बात 1-2 लेता हूं मैं, अभी 2 मिनट में खत्म करता हूं। 80G के अंदर अमेंडमेंट किया है मोदी जी ने कि कोई भी आदमी डोनेशन देगा जवाहरलाल नेहरू मेमोरियल फंड, इंदिरा गांधी मेमोरियल ट्रस्ट, राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन, इन तीनों को जो आप पैसा देंगे वो आपको डिडक्शन 80G में 100% मिलता है, वो नहीं मिलेगा 50% मिलेगा। ये तो मेरे को लगता है 100% पॉलिटिकल हिसाब से किया है। ट्रस्ट तो इस टाइप के बहुत सारे रजिस्टर्ड है, सुभाष चंद्र बोस ट्रस्ट है, बहुत सारे रजिस्टर्ड है, लाल बहादुर शास्त्री का भी है, उनको सबको मिलेगा, बस जवाहरलाल नेहरू, इंदिरा गांधी, राजीव गांधी वालों को नहीं मिलेगा। ये तो थोड़ा एक्सेस लग रहा है। कैलकुलेशन ऑफ कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन फॉर इंटेंजिबल एसेट। इंटेंजिबल एसेट जिसकी आपको पहले क्या होता था, इनकम टैक्स में रूल है कि जो चीज का आपका कॉस्ट नहीं है और बाद में वो बिक के आपको पैसा मिलता है तो आपको इनकम टैक्स नहीं लगता है। उसमें 5 एक्सेप्शन है, गुडविल में लगता है, टेनेसी राइट में लगता है, रोड परमिट में लगता है, रूम परमिट में लगता है और पेंटिंग में लगता है। इसके अलावा कोई पैसा आता है जिसका कॉस्ट नहीं है तो आपको 1 रुपया भी टैक्स नहीं लगता है। अभी अमेंडमेंट क्या किया है कि उन सब चीजों पे जहां पे भी आपको एग्जेम्प्टेड पैसा आ रहा है और कोई चीज बेची है, इंटेंजिबल एसेट बेची है आपने, एसेट है फिजिकली, उस आदमी में आपको 0 कॉस्ट डिडक्शन मिलके बाकी पे टैक्स भरना पड़ेगा। रिफंड टू एसएससी, अगर आपका रिफंड ड्यू है, आज का रूल क्या है, इनकम टैक्स को आपको रिफंड देना ही देना है, ब्याज के साथ देना है। आपका केस स्क्रूटनी में है तो भी उसको देना है। अभी रूल किया है अगर आपका केस स्क्रूटनी में है तो आपको रिफंड अभी नहीं मिलेगा और आपको स्क्रूटनी या रीअसेसमेंट करके रीओपनिंग करके असेसमेंट हो रहे हैं, जब वो असेसमेंट होके डिमांड खड़ी नहीं रहेगी तो रिफंड मिलेगा। तो रिफंड पे भी उन्होंने थोड़ा एक एसएल डाल दिया है। चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट से कनेक्टेड बहुत है लेकिन मैं उसको टाइम नहीं लेता हूं। और बाकी सर्टन इन्होंने प्रोसीजर पार्ट किया है कि भाई
विमल जी,
हाँ जी,
एक रिक्वेस्ट है चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट के ऊपर थोड़ा ध्यान दीजिए, थोड़ा जो इन शॉर्ट वे, बिकॉज
मैं कल 5 मिनट लग जाएगा और
चलेगा, नो प्रॉब्लम।
ओके, थैंक यू।
लास्ट क्लब के लिए जो हमारे अच्छा है।
तो चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट में सर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट अमेंडमेंट हुए हैं, मैं आपको बताता हूँ एक एक करके। चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट में क्या हुआ है, 4-5 साल से चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट के पीछे ही बढ़ गए मोदी जी। हर बार नया नया कुछ अमेंडमेंट कर रहे हैं। पिछले 3 साल से बहुत कुछ किया है और पिछले की स्टोरी में अपन नहीं जाते हैं। मैं बैकग्राउंड में आपको बताता हूँ कि पहले क्या होता था, एक आदमी सेक्शन 11, 12, 13 में ट्रस्ट रजिस्टर करता था। उसमें नॉर्मल एक्टिविटी भी होती थी, एजुकेशन भी होता था, मेडिकल भी होता था। एक एक्टिविटी में प्रॉफिट होता था, दूसरे में लॉस होता था, सेट ऑफ कर देते थे। कोई आदमी हॉस्पिटल और स्कूल बनाता था जिसका कोई दूसरी एक्टिविटी नहीं है, खाली एजुकेशन एंड मेडिकल है, तो वो सेक्शन 1023C में रजिस्टर करता था। उसको बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट रखने की भी जरूरत नहीं थी, कोई रिकॉर्ड रखने का। बाद में धीरे धीरे अमेंडमेंट आया कि 1 करोड़ तक तो बुक्स नहीं रखने का है, फिर आया 5 करोड़ तो नहीं रखने का है और बाकी। लेकिन अभी बॉम्बे में तो ऐसा है कि ट्रस्ट और मेडिकल, एजुकेशन और मेडिकल एक बिजनेस जैसा बन गया है। तो ट्रस्ट लोगों को भी समझो कि 100 करोड़ का कलेक्शन होता है तो 50 करोड़ इनकम होती है कि बिल्डिंग ओल्ड उनकी खुद की होती है, फर्नीचर फिक्सचर होता है। तो एक ट्रस्ट का एम है गरीब लोगों को सेवा करने का, लेकिन वो एम खत्म हो चुका है। ट्रस्ट के अंदर पैसा आता है, ये पैसा वो निकाल नहीं सकते, तो अलग अलग तरीके से नमूने से करते थे। कोई डोनेशन देता था, कोई दूसरी एक्टिविटी करता था, कोई एक स्कूल बेच के बना के दूसरा बनाता था, लाइन से स्कूलें बनाते थे, ऐसा चलता जाता था। अभी उसके अंदर इंपॉर्टेंट अमेंडमेंट क्या हुआ है, एक तो ट्रस्ट में जब भी कोई डोनेशन आता है तो 2 तरह का डोनेशन आता है। एक तो आता है रेवेन्यू अकाउंट पे, एक आता है कॉर्पस अकाउंट में। कॉर्पस में आता है वो सीधा कैपिटल अकाउंट में अपन जमा करते हैं और आपको टैक्स वैक्स नहीं भरना पड़ता है उसके ऊपर, और लेकिन उसमें से खर्चा आप कर सकते हैं। तब कॉर्पस को पर्टिकुलर फंड के लिए आया है, बिल्डिंग फंड या ये फंड या वो फंड, तो आपको उस फंड पे खर्चा करना है। कॉर्पस जनरल कॉर्पस आ गया था, किधर भी वापर सकते हैं। तो अभी अमेंडमेंट एक आया कि कॉर्पस में से कोई पैसा वापरेंगे तो आपको एप्लीकेशन ऑफ फंड नहीं गिना जाएगा। वो कॉर्पस में आपने जब आया था तो इनकम में भी नहीं लिया है तो खर्चे में भी अलाउ नहीं होएगा, और वो कॉर्पस का पैसा जो आपने इनकम में भी नहीं लिया और खर्चे में भी अलाउ नहीं होगा, लेकिन जब भी आप दूसरा डोनेशन शामिल करके कॉर्पस को वापस फिलअप कर देंगे तो आपको वो खर्चे में अलाउ हो जाएगा। सिमिलर मैंने स्कूल बना दिया, बैंक से लोन ले लिया 50 करोड़ का, 50 करोड़ मेरा खुद के पास था, ये स्कूल बना दिया ट्रस्ट के अंदर, तो एप्लीकेशन खाली 50 करोड़ ही गिना जाएगा, 100 करोड़ नहीं गिना जाएगा। जब भी मैं कलेक्शन करके बैंक का लोन चुकाते जाऊंगा वो दिन मेरा एप्लीकेशन पर लेगा। ट्रस्ट में 15% फ्री होता है, तो समझो गुणों के एक ट्रस्ट ए है, उसने 5 करोड़ रुपया ट्रस्ट बी को दे दिया, ट्रस्ट बी ने 15% उसको भी फ्री मिलता है, बाकी 4.25 करोड़ से ट्रस्ट सी को दे दिया। ऐसे 10 ट्रस्ट में आप पैसा घुमा लेंगे तो आपको 1 रुपया भी खर्च करने का जरूरत नहीं है और सबका टैक्स भी नहीं बचेगा लगेगा। उसको उन्होंने बोला है कि जब भी आप दूसरे चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट को डोनेशन देंगे, अब 100 रुपया भी दिया है तो अजूम ये होगा कि आपने 85 रुपये दिया और 85 का ही डिडक्शन मिलेगा। इसके अलावा अगर मेरे को ट्रस्ट के अंदर पैसा है और मेरे को एक फंड में एक्यूमुलेट करना है 5 साल के लिए, तो 5 साल के लिए मुझे एक फॉर्म होता है 10B, वो मेरे को फाइल करना पड़ेगा। तो पहले क्या होता था, 10B बहुत सारे लोग भूल जाते थे, फाइल नहीं करते थे। तो असेसमेंट 16, 17 और 17, 18 में तो सेंट्रल बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस ने रिलीफ ही दे दिया एक सर्कुलर निकाल के कि जिसका भी जितना डिले हुआ सब माफ करते हैं, अभी आप रेगुलाइज करो। 18-19 के अंदर उन्होंने चीफ कमिश्नर को पावर दिया और चीफ कमिश्नर भी नॉर्मली 1-2 साल का कंट्रोल कर देता था। अभी उन्होंने बोला है कि रिटर्न अपन कभी भरते हैं ट्रस्ट का, अक्टूबर में भरते हैं, ऑडिट होता है इसके लिए। तो बैलेंस शीट अपन कभी फाइल करेंगे 30 दिन पहले अपलोड करेंगे, तो सितंबर में अपील चली जाएगी। 10B अगर आपको फाइल करना है एक्युमुलेशन के लिए तो आपको अगस्त के अंदर ही करना पड़ेगा, 60 डेज बिफोर फाइलिंग द रिटर्न एंड 30 डेज बिफोर फाइलिंग द फाइनल अकाउंट। लेकिन समझो कि मेरे को करंट ईयर का इनकम है, 5 साल के लिए एक्युमुलेट नहीं करने का है। मेरे को एक गिफ्ट आई है डोनेशन में, समझो एक रिसीट आई है 10 लाख रुपए की, एफडीआर दी है किसी ने, वो एफडीआर मैच्योर होगी अगले साल, पैसा तो आ गया, नहीं खर्चा करूंगी इधर, पैसा तो लिक्विडिटी तो है नहीं, लिक्विडिटी अगले साल आएगी। तो मैं एक 9B फॉर्म होता है वो फाइल करूंगा, और वो ट्रस्ट में मुझे कभी फाइल करना है। और पहले वाला फॉर्म तो अगस्त था, रिटर्न है अक्टूबर, ऑडिट का सितंबर, 10B का अगस्त, ये मेरे को जुलाई में फाइल करने का, उसके भी 30 दिन पहले, तो मेरे को बेनिफिट मिलेगा, अदरवाइज नहीं मिलेगा। तो ये फ्रेंड थोड़े बहुत थे। और मैं क्या करूंगा, एक राइटअप भेज दूंगा, उसमें ट्रस्ट के ऊपर काफी लंबा चौड़ा लिखा हुआ भी है। तो आपके जो ऑर्गेनाइजर है मेरे ख्याल से पुनीत भाई, तो पुनीत भाई को मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा मेरे को ईमेल आईडी भेज देवे एक बार, तो आपको आगे वो आपके साइट पे रखेंगे या फिर सर्कुलेट कर देंगे। आई थिंक फ्रेंड टाइम निकल गया है, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
फैंटास्टिक विमल सर, you have been like a river flowing and sharing knowledge abundantly. मतलब किन शब्दों में बयां करूं आपके इस फ्लो ऑफ लेक्चर को, मतलब सब लोग, देयर वर 100 पीपल एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, स्टिल मतलब सब लोग मंत्रमुग्ध है और कोई हिलने को तैयार नहीं है अपनी जगह से कि भाई क्या क्या बता रहे हैं। और द वे इन विच यू टुक अप द थिंग्स, द वे इन विच द मल्टीपल थिंग्स हैव बीन टेकन। सो बिफोर आई कम ऑन वोट ऑफ थैंक्स, may I proceed to take 1 or 2 questions? Alok bhai, can I
मैं ready हूं sir, आपका टाइम देखिए आप, I am ready.
Alok bhai, 1 or 2 questions, one which has come on the chat, जो अभी अग्रीमेंट करना होगा एमएसएमई को, जो आपने जो एग्जांपल लिया 25 मार्च वाला कि अगर है कि नहीं है, तो वो स्टैम्प पेपर पे होगा कि सादा पेज पे भी चल जाएगा अग्रीमेंट सर?
अंडरस्टैंडिंग है बिटवीन 2%, तो सादा पे भी चलेगा, पर स्टैम्प पेपर पे किया तो ज्यादा बेटर है, 500 रुपए के स्टैम्प पेपर पे किया तो ज्यादा अच्छा है।
फैंटास्टिक।
तो इनकम टैक्स वाले को क्या हो, स्टैम्प पेपर दिखता है, नहीं तो साइकोलॉजिकल उसको लगता है हाँ डॉक्यूमेंट है।
सही है, सही है। एंड एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? आई थिंक ये तो आपने आंसर दे ही दिया था कि अगर आपका अपडेटेड रिटर्न टैक्सेबल नहीं है, टैक्स पेएबल नहीं है, तो आप नहीं भर सकते, आपको एक्स्ट्रा टैक्स तो भरना ही है। दिस आई थिंक यू हैड मेंशन्ड इट इन योर एड्रेस ओनली।
यस सर।
यस सर। मे बी वन मोर अनम्यूट करके कोई एक क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहे तो मैं अलाउ करता हूं, बाकी नहीं तो विल प्रोसीड टुवर्ड्स द नेक्स्ट एजेंडा। एनीवन? सर आपका फ्लो इतना शानदार था कि अभी तक लोग उस चीज को ग्रास्प कर रहे हैं कि क्या क्या चीज किया है। एक प्रतीक सर का है, पास्ट टीडीएस रिफंड विद लेटर रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली। नहीं
मतलब अभी अमेंडमेंट आया उस लाइट में कि जूना टीडीएस रिफंड की बात कर रहे हैं?
मेरे ख्याल से जूना टीडीएस रिफंड की बात कर रहे हैं।
ओके, तो अगर जूना टीडीएस बाकी है तो आपका जो ऑफिसर है उसको लेटर लिखो पहले, 15 दिन बाद उस ऑफिसर को वापस रिमाइंडर लिख दो, वो कुछ करने वाला नहीं है, ऑनलाइन एप्लीकेशन। 15 उसके बाद में कमिश्नर को लेटर लिखो, कॉपी टू ऑफिसर। उसके 15 दिन बाद चीफ कमिश्नर को लेटर लिखो, कॉपी टू ऑफिसर एंड कमिश्नर। और फाइनली जब भी नहीं होता है तो आप लिख दो फाइनली 3 महीने के बाद में अपना ये सीपी ग्राम के ऊपर कंप्लेंट कर दो। और सीपी ग्राम के ऊपर क्या होता है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी के उधर टीम है, इनकम टैक्स का, कस्टम का, एक्साइज का, अलग अलग डिपार्टमेंट के, और वहां का आदमी फॉलो करेगा। फिर अपने को फॉलो नहीं करना, वो अपने आप फॉलो करेगा। आपको रिफंड, आपने एक दिन रिफंड आएगा, देन अपने को बोलने का भी हमारा कंप्लाई हो गया है। और मेरा अनुभव यही है, बहुत सारा रेड के केस में हमारी ज्वेलरी सीज हो गई थी, क्लाइंट लोगों ने टैक्स भर दिया, चलो कुछ भी पेंडिंग नहीं है, और उनको ये मालूम नहीं पड़ा ज्वेलरी है किधर। वो रेड वाला बोलता है हमने इसको दे दिया, ये बोलता है हमारे पास आया ही नहीं है, पंचनामा नहीं है ये। अरे मैं बोला यार मतलब ज्वेलरी तू लेके गया है क्लाइंट का, और तेरे पास ज्वेलरी का ठिकाना ही नहीं है, कहाँ पे पड़ा है। हमने सीपी ग्राम में लिखा, 15 दिन में ऑफिसर का फोन आया कि सर आओ और आपका ज्वेलरी लेके जाओ और हमारे कंप्लेंट विड्रॉ करो। तो सीपी ग्राम इज द बेस्ट सोल्यूशन। मेरे 1-2 केस में तो सर रिफंड लेने का था 25-30 हजार रुपया, गरीब आदमी क्लाइंट था, पार्टी एरिया आदमी, उसको हमने चीफ कमिश्नर को लेटर लिखा कि सीपी ग्राम में लिखते ही धमाल बच गई, और इमीडिएटली मेरे क्लाइंट को रिफंड आ गया 25,000 का। और उसके बाद दूसरी बार 10 दिन बाद और रिफंड आ गया 25,000 का। तो मतलब मांगा था हमने 1 था, साला 4 साल तक नहीं दिया, और आया तो 2 साथ में आया। तो वो क्लाइंट को मैंने बोला भाई अभी व्यवहार से 1 तेरे को वापस देना चाहिए। वो तो बोलता है मैं तो नहीं दूंगा वापस, मैं तो 92 ईयर ओल्ड हूँ, डिपार्टमेंट क्या ले लेगा। वो दोनों मजा कर रहा है।
So nice sir, so fantastic. Friends, this is the quality of speakers that has been coming on the Lions Club platform and Foundations for Skill Development platform. And I'm really thankful for CA Advocate Vimal Punamia ji to take this today's session in such a lucid and simple manner. I'm sure a lot of people are pouring in the thanks on the chat itself. Yes, that is required. Please appreciation, thank you. आप हमारे chat पे भी कीजिए. Those who require the presentation, Alok bhai at the end of the session would be sharing one WhatsApp group link. Please join that WhatsApp group. उसी के through हम आपको communicate कर पाएंगे and everyone will be able to get the slide presentation जो विमल जी का एकदम खास document है जो उन्होंने बहुत मेहनत से बनाया है जो रेफर कर रहे हैं and he is going to share it with us and we will share it on that WhatsApp group itself. तो Alok bhai is going to share that and since the numbers went above 100, we have to do nothing but do the YouTube link. And like I said, Vimalji, you have been stupendous, fantastic. I would recommend all of you, all of the members to please carry out a loud vote of thanks with a loud applause so that it carries हमारी सबकी दुआएं विमल जी के पास रहे कि वो इसी फ्लो में हर साल लेक्चर और हम सबको प्रतिबोधित करते रहे इस बारे में एंड वी आर रियली थैंकफुल विमल भाई एंड विमल जी हम अपने आपको पहले भी सुना है एंड आई एम सो ग्लैड दैट वापिस से सुनने में आया तो द सेम एनर्जी द सेम थिंग दैट हैव बीन लिसनिंग फॉर लास्ट सो मेनी इयर्स इट्स बीन सेम थिंग सर so nice sir. Thank you very much, Vimal ji.
Sir,
and
I want to add, sir, I am part of you only. I am also Lion.
First of all,
Lions Club चौपाटी का president था और chairman भी था district level पे.
Yes, we saw that.
भाई और साथ में थे मेरे ख्याल से.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
One more announcement, Vimal, thank you so much for that. I have shared a link in the WhatsApp in the chat group. Please join that link so that you will get everything what the slide and PPTs are there. So please follow this link. I always share in the chat group. Secondly, before that, Vimal ji leaves. I also recognize the presence of CA Jitendra Khandelwal, President of the Tax Bar Association Amravati, CA Rajesh Chandak ji, past Chairman Amravati Branch, Nitin Gautam ji, Secretary of the VTPA, Senior Member Advocate Raju Javeri ji from Mumbai, and Advocate R.D. Chandak ji. And I, first of all, thank you so much, Vimal ji. And this is what Punir has told, that like of Walkeshwar and of FSD, they are providing quality speaker. Then today also we got the response, overwhelming response and all, above 100, and we are YouTube live. I request members, please be on time so that, you will not get this type of, missing and all. So many messages I got from the chat that, we are missing the link, but we have given YouTube live. So thank you so much, Vimal ji. I really appreciate, and thanks to Lion CA Pawan Agrawal ji. Pawan Agrawal ji, हमारे जो multiple treasurer है, because of that we can catch the Vimal ji. So I sincerely thank you Lion CA Pawan Agrawal ji. And before Punamia ji, Vimal ji, आप जाएंगे तो हमारे पीडी जी प्रदीप कपाड़िया जी है. प्रदीप जी, one last sentence from your side. Quickly, for Vimal ji.
तो सिर्फ इतना ही कहूंगा किन लफ्जों में मैं आपकी तारीफ करूं. आप लफ्जों में कहां समा पाने वाले हो, पर जब भी कोई बजट की बात आएगी हमें तो सिर्फ विमल जी और विमल जी याद आ जाएंगे. बहुत, it was really wonderful. The flow was excellent. Let me tell you, it was mesmerizing. The way, and see, it was in such a way people can understand also. Common man's language was there in Vimalji's speech. It is always there. And I have always cherished whenever Vimalji comes, it is always a pleasure to listen to him. And that is what we have been listening today. So thank you, Vimalji, for being with us in spite of I always say that when the budget comes, it is a season for Vimalji. Every day he must be having lectures for up to, I think, another 15 days. So that is there. I think tomorrow also with Kalba Devi Study Circle, Vimalji is there. So every day there is something or the other for Vimalji. So thank you. Go on spreading knowledge. That is what is expected from everyone. And from Lions, yes, it is always expected. So thank you very much. And I heads off to my president, Alok, who has been connecting people, excellent people on this webinars and lectures series on this. And the way he is, I think, no words to explain about his dedication, the way he's spreading knowledge. Thank you, President, for getting such an excellent speaker. And we have now another speaker also, Pranav Kapadia, who is also a part of us only. So we are also waiting to listen to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Vimal ji. Yeah, Punit, go ahead. Further.
Ashok bhai, I have to leave because
Yeah,
6:30 I have to go to Indian Merchant Chamber. So with your permission, sir, I will leave.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you, sir.
coming.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure,
Thank
sir.
you very much, sir.
And
Thank you.
convey my regards to Pranav bhai Kapadia. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Vimal ji. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vimalji. Excellent session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vimal.
So,
Yeah, Punit, go ahead, please.
yeah, without much ado, I would now request Pranav bhai to come on the stage and give his remarks on the indirect taxes provision. But before Pranav bhai comes, a brief small introduction for Pranav bhai, because he's been the president of GSTPM as well as multiple places. I mean, in the domain of indirect taxes, my Pranav bhai, you've been really fantastic. You have been president of GSTP Association of Maharashtra for 2017-18, then chairman of Indirect Tax Committee of Chamber of Tax Consultants for 1920. He has been member of Indirect Committee of WIRC for multiple years, including the panel expert for help desk, with the advent of GST, ICI had made. You have been the panel member. As a group leader, you have bagged multiple awards at different forums of GSTPM and GCC VAT and other things. Sir, not only this, I also saw that you've been a prolific writer and has written multiple publications, including Impact of Changes in GST Law on Real Estate Sector. Sir, we look forward for your deliberations on this sector for the current today as well. And he's been also the co-author of Guide on Maharashtra Settlement of Areas, Interest Tax and Penalty, published by WRC of ICI. So with such huge variety of the qualifications and such things, we are really thankful to you, Pranav bhai, for taking time and coming on this platform and enabling us on the indirect tax provisions of GST. I know it has been tough. Nirmala Ben did not provide much of it in his budget speech, but like Vimal bhai said, that many things come after that. So we are all ears to listen from you and understand what are the major changes which has come in the budget and what should a common man look at it. Sir, it is all yours. Pranav bhai.
Punit bhai, 1 minute. We have also the past district governor KL Parmar, CA KL Parmar sir with us.
Yeah.
Parmar ji.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
If Kumar sir can give a single opening remark or something, single line opening remark. So,
no, sir, it was excellent. Last session was excellent, and today you are doing the excellent job. And let the Pranav bhai to give the best of the out of that what he is supposed to give. Thank you very much for everyone.
Yeah. The French, I have already shared one more link right now. Recently, please follow that link. Okay. Sorry for the inconvenience. Go ahead.
Yeah, Pranav bhai, please proceed.
Yes, good evening, everybody. It was indeed an excellent exposition on the direct tax proposals by Vimal Punamia ji. I also listened to it. It was flawless, I should say. And first of all, a very good evening. And I would first of all like to thank all the organizers, the various association, and their office bearers, the torch bearers of each of those associations, Lion, CA Alok Mehta, Shri Jagdish Sharma ji from Amravati, from the Vidarbha Tax Practitioners Association, Lion Punit Mehta, Lion Anil Pandya, my friend and director over here at the Foundation for Skill Development, Sachin Gandhi and Hiral Shah, another colleague, Dilip Nathani, Lion KL Parmar ji, and my dear friends, and of course, my Pranav Pradeep Kapadia is my name, and thanks to Pradeep bhai, it's always a pleasure to be when you are around here. It's always a happening thing. It's good to have you here at this forum. Well, friends, I'll just like to share my screen as I start my talk. Just a second, I'll share my screen. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Pranav.
Yes, Pranav.
Fine. Well, yes, like every year, we had our finance minister who presented the budget, and the budget came up with some priorities. Budget is always a balancing act. Like we have our budget for our own home, the finance minister has it for India. And apart from balancing the various revenues and expenses the country has to have, there are also various priorities which are set by the government. And as said by our prime minister as well as our finance minister, 75 years of independence have been completed. Now India is looking at India at the rate 100, which is going to come soon, and this period is called the Amrit Kal for India. And I'm sure the way this government is heading towards the various schemes that are being announced, uh, India is really going to have Amrit Kal till it reaches at 100, and we all are here to witness it. Well, some statistics, if I can just mention, is one is regarding the fiscal deposit. The fiscal deposit has indeed been targeted to be reduced, which was earlier at 9.2%. That has been targeted to get reduced to 5.9%. Of course, it's a difficult target to achieve, but yes, it can be achieved only through either increase in revenue or increase in borrowings. The targets for increase in revenue, if I may say, uh, as compared to the earlier year, which were around 20 lakh crore rupees, this year the tax revenue targets are around 23.30 lakh crore rupees. So more revenue is expected to be generated from the taxes that the taxpayers are going to pay in this year. GST, after its implementation and after demonetization, we all have seen the way indirect taxes contribution has helped in the revenue collection for the country. At the initial stages, it was only around 1 lakh crore, 1.10 lakh crore at an average. And then in 2019, the average was around 1.15 crore. But now we see that in the calendar year 2002, the average was almost at 1.5 lakh crore every month. This is the collection that is coming from GST. So with the advent of technology, with the advent of demonetization, with the advent of digitalization, the revenues from GST have grown to a large extent, and yes, the government expects it to still grow further. And of course, yeah, so we can see from this slide that the GST collection is almost 17% of the revenue, and the day is not far where the borrowings will get reduced, the percentage of borrowings will get reduced, and the revenue collection will increase. Of course, it will be a more compliant society as compared to what it is today, and that is what is sought of and sought after in the GST regime. The government expects to be the people to be more disciplined in the compliances, and there are automatic penalties and late fees, etc., and auto compliance and matching of credit. I think that is the base at which the government is formulating all its laws and the various provisions that are coming in. Well, coming to the indirect tax proposals this year, as rightly said by Punit as well as by Vimalji, nothing was spelt about GST in the entire budget speech. I was wondering, I was seeing the entire speech, but I could not find anything in GST. So socha ye time to kuch hai nahi. Let's sit back and relax. But nonetheless, there are various amendments because friends, if you know the way this indirect taxes work, the indirect tax is more regulated through notifications which come through all through the year. On 18 July 2022, we had numerous amendments which came through. Then in December 22, again, we had numerous changes. So whatever changes are expected in the budget are only the changes which are there in the law. Let's understand one more thing, that whenever these changes come, there has to be an effective date for these changes. As far as the Finance Act is concerned, these changes are generally coming by the 31st of March, say for budget of 2023, which came recently. Most of the changes will get enacted by 31st of March 2023. But as far as indirect taxes are concerned, the experience has been that it takes time. because all the states need to approve the amendments that have come through, and it's a long process which takes around 6 to 9 months. So whatever changes I'm going to tell today, they would be effective from a date after all the states grant their assent to the proposals in the finance bill, and then only it will become effective. Of course, the president's assent and all those processes, of course, they continue, but taking the assent of all the states is also of paramount importance. Till that has come, the amendments which shall not become effective. Coming to the highlights of the indirect tax proposals, I'll just first glance through them and then take through each of them clearly. The composition taxpayers have been allowed to supply good through e-commerce operators, so that's a welcome change. So there's a smiley over here. One more smiley with alignment of ITC reversal with the return filing system. The ITC reversal provisions were not amended to the extent the returns got amended recently. I'll come to those nitty-gritties of what the changes are. But again, the point is that this law has now become techno-legal, right? So being that the changes are made on the portal first, and to adjust them and align them with the law, certain changes are made subsequently in the law. So that is how it has become a techno-legal law. The technology and the portal takes care of it first. That is what we understand is the intent of the government, and then subsequently we find that there is an amendment to the section. Then one more important amendment is regarding denial of ITC on expenses in relation to CSR expenditure. The smiley becomes a frown over here, a frown because the way people have been doing this CSR activities, there's a scope, and there was a scope that the ITC should be available, but it is not going to be available. What will be the impact of these amendments? We'll come to later on. Again, ITC reversal on warehouse goods has been proposed. These are the custom bonded warehouse goods. We'll come to those implications. Then there are amendments in section 23 where persons not liable for registration. There was a conflict between section 22, 23 and 24. There are 3 sections which are related to this registration apart from section 25. And each of them had some overlapping effect. So to remove that, the amendments have come. Then some time limit has been provided for delayed filing of returns. So maximum cap has now been put. Again, this is not from one angle we can say this is a good step that there comes a finality as far as the government is concerned, that okay, the GSTR1 can be filed only up to say maximum up to 3 years. But what about the persons who are waiting for the ITC to come to them through that GSTR1? So how is that going to operate? We'll see that. Then clarification on interest on delayed refunds. Refunds वैसे भी नहीं मिलते हैं. Interest मिलेगा कि नहीं वो एक question रहता है. उसके अंदर now they are going. There was already a section already there. Now they are trying to bring in more procedures on how that interest can be given. I'm sure that interest component would get reduced and not enhanced in such cases. Then certain additional penal provisions for electronic commerce operators have been pronounced. Then there are certain retrospective exemptions to certain activities and transactions in Schedule 3 of the CGST Act. And we are aware that Schedule 3 of the CGST Act deals with activities which are neither supply of goods nor supply of services. So there's some retrospective exemption has come. It's a welcome move. Then there are certain amendments in place of supply provisions in case of transportation of goods. Amendments in provisions relating to non-taxable online recipient and OIDR definition. This is going to be a big thing for everybody to understand. Certain changes in customs, excise, and central sales tax law, but I don't think we'll be taking up that. But there have been certain changes, but we'll restrict ourselves to the indirect tax related to GST. Well, as I said earlier, sorry, is the slide gone? As I said earlier, the proposed amendments in GST shall come into force on such date as the central government may, by official notification in the official gazette, appoint. So it will be some future date from when these provisions are going to come. And it is unlike the direct tax amendments, it takes time. Okay, now coming to the amendment in section 10 regarding applicability of composition scheme. So existing scheme, we all are aware that in case of composition dealers, uh, uh, certain dealers with a threshold limit of below 1.5 crore are eligible for composition scheme. But there are conditions which are applicable to the composition scheme. They cannot make interstate supplies. They cannot sell goods through electronic commerce operators, etc. So out of that, one of the condition is proposed to be removed, which is removal of the restriction imposed on the registered person supplying goods through e-commerce operators from opting for composition scheme. So now a composition dealer who has opted for a composition scheme, he will be allowed to make sales through, say, Amazon or Flipkart or any such thing. Till this date, they were not allowed. In case that composition dealer sells any goods through such e-commerce platform, which is a marketplace. Amazon, we should understand it's a marketplace. Flipkart, we should understand it's a marketplace. Myntra is a marketplace, right? So wherever these goods are getting sold, see, if the person has its own website and is selling through its own website and taking orders and selling, that is not selling through e-commerce operator who is liable for deduction of who is liable for collection of TCS under section 52, right? So if a person has its own website and he is under composition and he's procuring orders on his website and selling it through his website, yes, he is allowed even today. But if he's selling through e-commerce operator, as of currently, he was not allowed. Now it is proposed that this will be allowed. Now this is in line with the 47th GST Council meeting, whereby such a recommendation was made by the GST Council. Now, what is the impact of this? Of course, now they will not be hit out of the composition scheme, and the way the industry is going digital and through the e-commerce platforms, this is a very positive move for the composition dealers. Only one flip side of this which I can see is that the other condition that a person who is a composition dealer cannot make any interstate outward supplies of goods or services. So that condition has not been removed. So the way the e-commerce transactions are happening, any person in India can buy any product from any small little person anywhere throughout India when they are operating through the e-commerce portal or any of these e-commerce operators. But only one condition has been the restriction has been removed. The other condition has not been removed. So every composition dealer will have to abide by the second condition, that in case if that composition dealer is getting registered on an e-commerce platform, he will have to ensure that he will not supply any interstate sales. Now, how is that possible? Who will keep track of it? I think both. Majorly, it will be on the electronic commerce operator. They will have to keep a tab in their software that if a seller is a composition dealer, he should not be able to make a interstate sale. It should be only an intrastate sale through this, and that appears to be the intent of the government also. I was going through the notes, and wherever this position is there, they have mentioned that composition dealers will be allowed to make intrastate sales through e-commerce operator. So this condition of interstate is a deliberate attempt of not to allow them. I don't know why. Actually, they should have allowed it for interstate, the way things are moving on the e-commerce platform. But nonetheless, as the government thinks fit, they have given only this one concession of selling through e-commerce operator for intrastate and not for interstate. One more point is that this concession is given only for supply of goods and not for supply of services. So if a composition dealer who has opted for composition scheme of services, if he wants to sell through sell his services or supply his services through an e-commerce operator, he still is not eligible to supply through an e-commerce operator. Right, we have seen this. Coming to the next amendment. Reversal of ITC in case of payments to suppliers beyond 180 days. Now, this provision we all are very much aware of. There is a second proviso to section 16(2) relating to ITC, where if a person fails to make payment for the value of supply along with the tax thereon within 180 days from the date of invoice, then the ITC taken by him is liable for reversal and with interest. Now, when we go to the proviso of section 16.2, the proviso states that the said amount of reversal should be added to the output tax liability and paid with interest thereon. Now, this was always a confusion which the dealers were having, that whether reversal of ITC is my output tax liability or it should be considered only as my ITC which was excess claimed and which now needs to be reversal or a reversal of ITC. Now, the proposed amendment is the said proviso is proposed to be substituted by the words, the output tax liability word will be substituted by the amount paid by him along with interest under section 50. So what does this actually mean? So the earlier ambiguity was that whether the reversal should be deducted from the amount of ITC availed or should be added to the output tax liability. Say I had purchased goods worth rupees 10 lakhs on which ITC of 1,80,000 was available. That payment of entire 11,80,000 is not paid to the dealer within 180 days. That entire 1,80,000 becomes liable for reversal as per this proviso. So whether that should be deducted from the subsequent ITC which is available. Say I had purchased these goods in the month of January 2022. I have not made the payment in say 180 days. In July 2022, I should add that. So in July 2022, if my other ITC is say 2 lakh rupees, should I reduce this 1,80,000 from the ITC availed or should I add to my output tax liability? The section as it is, as was worded now, mentioned that it has to be added to output tax liability. Although if we see rule 37, it is a reversal and this should have gone under other reversals. So there was not an alignment between the form, the rules and the act. So that issue was there. One more issue which was there because of this was that whether interest should be leviable under section 50 subsection 1 as my output tax liability or under 50 subsection 3, especially in cases where credit is available in the electronic credit ledger and such impugned ITC has not been utilized. Say I had my balance of more than 20 lakh rupees in my electronic credit ledger and I would want to reverse it. Then why I should be liable to pay interest on that under section 53? And section 53, you might be aware that that has also got amended retrospectively in the previous budget. Right. So both these issues were there. So now it has been clarified that the reversal should be of ITC only, and in such cases where the impugned ITC is not utilized, the provisions of section 50 subsection 3 would apply and no interest may become payable in such cases if the impugned ITC has remained unutilized. Right. So this is the section. Along with it, now we can also align it with the new GSTR 3B return format which has been introduced recently in August 2022. There also, if we see, of course, it has been followed by the circular 170 and notification 14 by 2022. So this is what the impact is. This was the old format of reporting ITC reversal. This is the new format of reporting ITC reversals. So if we consider the new format, so as of now, if any reporting has to be done for reversal of ITC, the ITC for 16.2C proviso non-payment within 180 days should be shown. The reversal should be shown in this column number 4B2. This is 4B2. Here, this ITC reversal requires to be shown. In case if this ITC is then subsequently reclaimed, then it will have two impact again. One impact will be that say in July 2022, this 1,80,000 was reversed. Then in December 2022, the taxpayer is making the payment, say the entire payment is making to the vendor. So he needs to reclaim the ITC. So what would have happened when the first ITC was claimed in January 22, he would have claimed under all other ITC in 4A5, reversal in 4A2. Reclaim will have two steps. Reclaim again in all other ITC in 4A5 and also mention in the details in 4D1 ITC reclaimed which was reversed under table 4B2 in earlier tax periods. So whenever the reclaim is happening, there will be two disclosures which will be required in the GSTR 3B return. And basically the entire amendment appears to be to align with this GSTR 3B format. Okay, then There's a section of section 17 which relates to block credits. There's a section 17.3. If we go through the section 17.2 and 73 are twin sections. Section 17.2 says that ITC will be restricted to the extent it is attributable to the taxable supplies. So if a person is having taxable supplies, he will get ITC credit only qua the taxable supplies. If he is also having exempt supplies, then qua the exempt supplies, ITC is not eligible. The ITC gets restricted to that extent, and there would be a reversal which would be required as per section 17.2. The explanation to section 17.3, the how to value for reversal is mentioned in section 73, and wherein there's an explanation to section 17.3 which excludes the value of schedule 3 transactions or activities except for specific transaction of sale of land and building other than entry 25E of that schedule of schedule 2 from value of exempt supply for calculating ITC reversal. So basically what does the provision say? That in case I am having taxable as well as exempt supplies, if any of my supplies are towards exempt supplies, if they are directly correlated, I will not get the input tax credit thereof. If it is a common credit, then there has to be a proportionate reversal between my taxable supplies to my exempt supplies, right? And for that, in the definition of exempt supplies, specifically, this definition is not, this exempt supplies definition is there in the definition section in section 2. But apart from that, section 17.2 specifically states that exempt supplies includes transactions in securities, sale of land, and sale of building. Right. So those transactions are to be included for calculating my exempt value. Right. Explanation 3. Now, what has happened that this sale of building, land and building, other than schedule 2 entry 5E means under construction flat. So if it's a completed building, it's a completed sale, it's a sale of land or it's a sale of building. If it is a completed building, then that value has to be taken. If it is under construction, then it is not liable for calculating for exemption purposes. Now, what was happening? Those two entries are there in schedule 3. Schedule 3, all other transactions, say there are high seas sale transactions, there are other warehouse goods transactions, etc. Those transactions were not liable for ITC reversal because they were neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Now, what is the proposal? The proposal is the explanation to section 17.3 of the Act has been proposed to be amended to include the value of sales from custom bonded warehouse before clearance for home consumption, schedule entry 8A, also as exempt supply for the purpose of ITC reversal. So what has happened? Earlier only sale of land and building out of that schedule 3 was covered. Now one more item has been added. Not all the entries of schedule 8, only entry number 8A has been added. And if there are any sales from bonded warehouse, they will get added to the value of exempt supplies. So basically, generally we term this as inbound sales, sale of goods from warehouse, from bonded warehouse. So these are the customs bonded warehouse. Say a person has imported goods, they are kept in a customs bonded warehouse. He's still trying to find out buyers. From the customs bonded warehouse, because of paucity of space, say from JNPT, he may take it to say Panvel and keep it in another custom bonded warehouse. Now, those are inbound sales. These are not high seas sales transaction. There's a differentiation in high seas sale transaction. They are covered by 8B. They are not covered by 8A. These are customs bonded because the person has still not taken out the goods for home consumption. Although they are shifting it from one custom bonded warehouse to another custom bonded warehouse, they are inbound sales. Or there could be an inbound sales also. There could be a transfer or there could be an inbound sales. Both could be there. So when, say, from one custom bonded warehouse to another custom bonded warehouse, the goods are moving, there are certain expenses. Say there would be loading, unloading charges, there could be transportation charges, etc. There could be custom house agent charges, wherever, and all those charges, GST was being charged by those entities to the person who has sold those goods. When that sale is happening, the sale is exempt. The ITC was eligible. The government thought this is not correct. the government treasury is getting impacted. So apply reversal. And that is what has happened. So these transactions as of now were not liable to reversal. With the proposed amendment, ITC on inward supplies which are attributable to inbound sales shall be required to be reversed, and proportionate common ITC of the registered person shall also be required to be reversed in accordance with CGST rules 42 and 43. So both the reversals will apply. Wherever there is any direct expense which is incurred in relation to inbound sales, those will have to be reversed fully. Other common expenses, you will have to apply the formula for taxable versus exempt. In exempt, you have to include this value, and for the common ITC, reversal will also apply. So both these reversals will apply in such cases. So again, it is relevant to note that the out and out transactions, say in this section in serial number 7, entry number 7, there were out and out transaction where the goods are moving from, say, the person is buying goods from China and selling it to USA, sending it to USA. Those transactions still they are out and out transactions, but they are not covered for reversal purposes. Similarly, high seas sales transactions which are covered by 8B of Schedule 3, they are also still not covered, and they will be still be treated as exempt. In case any expenses are directly incurred toward that, they will still be eligible to be claimed by the dealer. Okay. Now coming to this blocked credit in relation to CSR expenditure. Lots of companies have been incurring expenditure on various CSR activity. The Companies Act itself mandates companies that they have to spend at least 2% of their total revenue towards CSR expenditure. Persons have been expending it and have been trying to claim the GST thereof. The amendment is there's a new section 17(5)(f) which has been inserted. I think it is 17(5)(f)(a), which proposes that ITC in relation to goods or services or both received by a taxable person which are used or intended to be used for activities relating to his obligations under CSR Act shall not be allowed. So it will become a blocked credit as far as CSR expenditure is concerned. So as of now, there was an ambiguity. There were differing judgments. There were AR also, which were in favor of the. Most of them were in favor of the SSE. Even under the service tax regime, there were judgments which were in favor of the SSE, wherein CSR expenditure was judged to be taken as an allowable for ITC, right? So now the fate of such judgments are in question post the proposed amendment disallowing the said ITC. The proposed amendment being prospective in nature, ITC on CSR expenses during the period July 17 to date of effect of the provision should become allowable. Now, why do I say so? Because till now, there was no blocked credit qua the CSR expenditure. The block credit which has come from budget 2023, which should be applicable, say, from September or October 2023. So say today in March 2023, there are certain CSR expenditure which are to be incurred. Can the dealer claim the expenditure? What will happen to expenses which have already been incurred in the last 5 years? Will they become allowable? I think now we have a more stronger ground to argue that the ITC on such CSR expenses should be allowed, because had the government wanted to disallow it earlier, that they would have brought it specifically under a specific provision earlier. Since the provision has come in now, it has not come by way of an explanation. It is by way of an insertion of a new subsection in section 17(5), and hence CSR expenditure should become disallowable only prospectively and not for the earlier years. A very good case to argue in such cases. One more point which I wanted to mention was that if we see the section speaks about that where it is an obligation for the companies to spend CSR towards CSR activities as per the company law. But in some cases, if there are certain CSR expenditure which are voluntary in nature and which are not because which are falling under section 135 of the Companies Act. Say, as per the company law, they were required to spend only 1 crore, but they have spent 2 crore of rupees as voluntary CSR expenditure. Then whether that would become allowed, the excess portion. Again, I don't think there is any embargo in the section to restrict entire CSR expenditure, because ultimately those CSR expenditure are incurred in the course of business and for the purposes of business. There is lots of branding which is happening with this CSR expenditure. Companies are actually, they may create toilets, but everywhere that names will come. Okay, so and so company's name they have donated. So I think that expenditure, if it's a voluntary in nature, it should still become allowable, and it would become allowable say till September or October next year. Only thing is that it should fall is for financial year 23-24, although the provision would come into effect say maybe in September or October. CAN and CSR expenditure which is claimed in April to September, saying that year would be allowable. According to me, if there is no embargo, it would still become allowable, but that would be a riskier bet for the subsequent year, because in that year, as per the CSR norms, the CSR expenditure would have been made, and it would the entire section 135 companies that would become applicable for entire year, although GST is purchased, GST expenses may have been incurred earlier. So that is going to be a little gray area for the subsequent year, but till now, I think that's there should not be any issue in claiming the credit for the same. Persons not liable for GST registration. Now the section 22, 23, 24, they all relate to registration. The amendment is that the entire section 23 has been substituted retrospectively from 1st July 2017. So whether a person was required to take registration or not, the government is telling that, okay, this person was not liable for registration from 2017. There could be so many implications of that. Nonetheless, there were issues in this. So as of now, section 23 provides for exemption for registration to agriculturist, person engaged in exclusive exempted supplies, and notified person. So these three categories of person, as of now, were not required to take registration. What is proposed? Section 23 shall start with the clause, notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in subsection 1 of section 22 or section 24, the following person shall not be liable for registration. These three categories are the same. I think the persons who are supplying exclusive exempted supplies and notified persons. We'll come to those points now. So when we see section 22 mandates every supplier to obtain registration if he supplies goods or services above the threshold. So if a person's turnover exceeds say 20 lakh rupees, he is required to mandatorily take registration. Then there is section 24, which mandates certain category of persons to obtain registration without considering the threshold limit. So even for a 1 rupee supply, if the supply is happening, then those persons are liable for taking registration. The most popular out of these are persons making interstate taxable supply, or persons who are required to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism, or persons who are going to make supplies through e-commerce operator, of course subject to certain relief which have been granted in certain notifications. Subject to those categories of dealers, if any person is making any interstate taxable supply or is liable to pay tax under reverse charge, then such persons were required to register for registration mandatorily. So there was an ambiguity. Say there is a person who is engaged fully into supplying food grains which are not liable to tax. Say there are certain expenses of advocate which that firm is paying. Section 24 says you require registration. Section 23 says you don't require registration. Section 24 also mentions that notwithstanding anything contained in section 22(1), but section 24 is not overriding section 23. So there was lots of confusion which was prevailing, lots of representations were made on this, and now ultimately the government has agreed that section 23 will override section 22 and 24. So in case if a person is not liable for registration because of his exempted supplies, in spite of section 24, he will still not be liable for registration. One more caveat which I have over here is that Now the registration section says, now the new amended section 23 says that you are not liable for registration. Fair enough. I'm a dealer in food grains, or say I'm an advocate. Advocate, both ways it applies. So advocates outward supplies being chargeable under reverse charge mechanism, they are not liable for registration. Of course, if the advocate has inward supplies which are liable to tax, then again they become liable for registration. It could be under any other category also. So there the registration was required. But now the problem is that the section 23 now says that the dealer is not required to take registration. But there is no amendment in which is corresponding in section 9 where the levy has been made. Section 9 is not amended. So liability still remains. So can we say that since I'm not liable for registration, I'm not liable for making tax? Will the department not say, okay, you are liable to pay tax? You are liable to pay tax. You should pay tax, although you are not liable for registration. Then, but where is the mechanism for payment of tax by unregistered dealer? So this conflict between section 9 and section 23, I think that is still going to remain unless and until it is suitably modified. Time limit for provided for delayed filing of GST returns. So these 4 sections have been amended. Till now, there was no outer time limit for filing any of the GST returns. GSTR 3B, GSTR 1, GSTR 9 annual return, and GSTR 8 is the monthly statement of outward supplies in the case of e-commerce operators. So now for each one of them, there is a outward time limit which has come that they cannot file any of these returns after 3 years from the respective due date of filing of such returns. Say a person has not filed return for the month of January 2022. The outer limit for him will be 20th February 2025. Beyond that, he will not be able to file 3B. So there could be certain cases where there is a cancellation of registration, the dealer has applied for revocation, the revocation has not come, or maybe there could be various issues whereby the filing of the return has got delayed. The government wants everybody to fall into discipline, the compliance discipline as they mentioned. So the compliance discipline is expected for every person. There's an outward limit which is given for 3 years. So even if your registration is cancelled, you've gone into appeal, the government has given an outward time limit of 3 years only. So what happens if the appellate officer does not pass the order within that time? Of course, for the appeal also there is a time limit of 1 year. It is different that they are taking it beyond, because it says possibly to the extent of 1 year it should get filed. The appeal should be heard and disposed of. But yes, there are cases where it can get beyond. Government has also kept a provision whereby this 3 years time limit can get enhanced in certain cases subject to notification by the government for a class of registered person. As of now, nothing has come regarding that extended time limit, in which cases it will apply beyond 3 years. But the intention appears very clear. You have to have compliance discipline, else you will suffer. The more impact is on the ITC availability on the portal for the recipient, because in such cases we have seen in so many cases that due to various reasons, sometimes unintended reasons, the RC of the dealer has got cancelled, or maybe he's not having money to make the payment. His customer is not given him. So for others, maybe lots of reasons, working capital not available, and once it gets blocked or it gets cancelled, then it takes time to again revoke the cancellation. So the ITC availability in such cases for the recipient is always an issue. But this is how the things are going to be. Let's only pray that the recipient ultimately gets the ITC credit, and the ITC confirmation, which has come only for 2 years. I hope in such scenarios they will have to allow it for other years also. Section 54(6), I think I'll just mention over here one thing, that this section pertains to refund. There was a provision for provisional assessment, and provisional credit was to be granted. But the sections ITC reclaim, section 42, they never came into operation. So this is only a position which now, since the section 41, 42 themselves, they have been amended. The corresponding amendment was not done in section 54 for the provisional refund which has been granted, and hence that amendment has now sought to be provided and to align with the availment of self-assessed credit, because now everything is on the self-assessed credit. There is no provisional acceptance of ITC. So being a self-assessed credit, the refund and the interest thereon will not be available. The reference to provisional entitlement has now been removed to align it with the present scheme of self-assessed input tax credit. Interest on delayed refunds, as I was telling you earlier, that there is an existing provision which says that in case if any refund application has been made, then after the expiry of 60 days, if the refund is not granted, the applicant will be eligible for interest at the rate of 6%. The only thing which has been now proposed is that government has taken powers to prescribe conditions and restrictions for and the manner of how this interest will be calculated, and it will be done. So basically, I think maybe there will be more stricter rules wherein the government would not want to pay interest on the delayed refund. कुछ ना कुछ बहाना निकालेंगे और interest नहीं देंगे या तो कम कर देंगे. Let's see what these prescriptions are. Final provisions applicable to electronic commerce operators. E-commerce is blooming like anything in India. So much digitalization is happening. But yes, again, stricter compliances for the e-commerce operators. A new subsection has been introduced in section 122. 1B has been introduced. So what is the change? Any electronic commerce operator who allows the supplies through it by an unregistered person other than a person exempted from registration. So the penalty has been cast on the e-commerce operator. So there are various provisions. First of all, if a person is an unregistered person, he has to take compulsory registration and then only make supplies to the e-commerce operator. Okay. If he does not do that, section 122 already has penalty for such person that you need to take registration, you need to do all the compliances and pay the late fees and the penalties, because being an unregistered person, you cannot make supplies through e-commerce operator. So on that person already a penalty is there. Now there's an additional penalty on the e-commerce company. Why did you allow that unregistered person to sell goods through your portal, through your e-commerce portal? Right. So there will be a penalty of 10,000 rupees, or the tax involved had such supply been made by a regular registered person. So 100% of tax, a huge penalty on the companies. So the companies will really have to ensure and that their database, their KYC norms are indeed true to the sense that they do not allow any unregistered person to make sales through their portal. Of course, there are separate categories for goods, services, there are threshold limits, so many things are there. All those considerations, points will be having, have to be taken into consideration. And also the section mentions that other than a person exempted from registration. Say if there's a grain dealer, एक किराने वाला है, purely food grains में ही deal कर रहा है and nothing else. If he wants to sell to the e-commerce operator, and since he's exempted under section 23, we saw section 23. As per section 23, is not liable for registration. And he wants to sell through the e-commerce operator food grains. I know companies who are selling hundreds of crores of food grains or much more than that in one company through e-commerce operator. So such companies, although they may be unregistered, they will still be allowed to supply through e-commerce operator. They will not be required to take registration. E-commerce operator also has this exception, and it will not be liable for penalty. But yes, the e-commerce operator will have to keep separate records. Maybe he have to take a declaration from such person that he is not a person who is liable for registration. And whenever he takes registration or becomes liable for registration, he will inform the e-commerce operator. It's going to be difficult in such cases, but this is how the law will be operating. The second is, fails to furnish the correct details in GSTR 8, that is any outward supply of goods affected through it by a person exempted from obtaining registration under this act. So, and the third, I'll read the third first, then I'll come to the second. Allows interstate supplies through it by a person who is not eligible to make such interstate supply. For example, composition taxpayers. We saw this amendment before some time. For for the composition taxpayer, they have allowed him to make supplies through e-commerce operator as per the 47 GST Council. So the composition taxpayer is allowed to make sales through e-commerce operator. But the second condition of that interstate supplies has remained over there. A penalty now will be charged if the e-commerce operator allows that composition dealer to make an interstate supply. So a composition dealer of Mumbai cannot sell goods on Amazon to Ahmedabad. And if Amazon in such cases allows such supplies, then it will be liable for the penalty, which will be up to 100% of the tax involved. Right. So at both places, the intent of the government is very clear. They don't want composition taxpayers to make interstate supplies, whatever may be the reason. But I think that is what the intention of the government is as of now. And one more point is, fails to furnish the correct details in GSTR 8, that is any outward supply of goods affected through it. Because GSTR 8, the e-commerce operator has to submit the GSTR 8 every month with all these details of through whom these supplies are made. If it fails to furnish correct details, so if it furnished incorrect details of such suppliers, then also, first of all, it should not allow. Once it is allowed, and still if it is not furnishing the correct details, or in case there are other transactions wherein they are furnishing incorrect details, then also the e-commerce operators will be liable for penalty. So tough days for e-commerce operators because of this provision. Okay. The next is the retrospective exemption to certain activities and transactions in Schedule 3. Alok bhai, how much time do we have? Punit bhai?
Yeah, how much time will left for you? Pranav?
Yeah.
How much time you can take?
I think around 10 minutes.
How much 10 minutes complete karo, koi problem. Go ahead, go ahead. Okay.
Right. Next is regarding Schedule 3 transactions. Now in Schedule 3, as we discussed earlier, there was an amendment in Section 17.3 that we saw, right? Section 17.3, there was an amendment with respect to bonded warehouse goods. Those bonded warehouse goods, there is a reversal which is now going to become applicable. Fair enough. That is one provision. The second provision, wherein again they have made some amendments in Schedule 3, is that this Schedule 3 activities, right from day one, it was being argued that these activities should not be liable to tax in India, because whatever activities are happening, the three examples, out and out sales, wherein say goods are moving from say USA to China, they are moving out of India, tax should not be payable. Then bonded warehouse, the example which we saw, everything is under customs control, nothing is coming into the taxable territory of India, wherein which is liable to GST. These transactions are outside GST purview. And high seas sale transaction, again they are outside the GST purview. All these three types of transactions, GST should not be levied, and they should neither be treated as supply of goods nor services. These activities should not be treated as liable to GST. Lots of representations were made. I'm aware. I was there at in 17-18 when Hasmukh Adia ji had come over to Mumbai at World Trade Center in one of the meetings where Mr. Vivek Jory, today's CBIC chairman, was there, and Hasmukh Adia ji was there, and we had made that representation in December 2017 that sir, these cases they should be out of the coverage of GST. And therein, Adia ji had mentioned to Vivek Jory that you please ensure that this amendment comes. The amendment came, fair enough, very nicely happened, but there was an issue. The amendment came in budget 2018 immediately after 2 months, and the act became effective from 1st February 2019. So what happens to the intervening period from 1st July 2017 to 1st February 2019? And there have been judgments which have come which are telling that since the exemption has not been provided, they should become liable to tax. So because of this, there were many litigations which were pending in such cases. Now, the government has sought to make this amendment retrospectively with effect from 1st July 2017. So in case if any high seas or bond sales have happened from 1/7/17 till 1st Feb 2019, when this amendment had become operative, Feb 18 budget amendment was made effective from 1st Feb 2019, exactly after 12 months. right? Okay, but this amendment had come in, and now it's a welcome move that this will not be liable to tax. Of course, the government has clarified that no refund shall be available on the tax already paid in respect of such transactions during that period. So, if the dealer has already paid the tax, then no refund will be granted. Now, I can just compare this with what happens to the case of ocean freight. See, on ocean freight, let's understand one thing: there is no amendment as regards this ocean freight transaction. We have the Mohit Mineral Supreme Court judgment, wherein the Supreme Court has told that RCM liability is not payable for this ocean freight transaction, CIF transactions, right? So many companies have gone for claim of refund in such cases where they have not availed and utilized, where they have not utilized that input tax credit. Companies have made huge claims, crores of rupees refund claim has come over there for RCM on ocean freight in case of CIF transactions. Amendment has not been made by the government as of now, neither in the law nor any notification has been issued till date. We were expecting if the government wants to again levy tax, they will bring out something, but they have not done this. So now I think it brings us to a clarity that although this amendment has not come, it means that the matter has got resolved. ITC on ocean freight on CIF value, RCM on ocean freight CIF value should not be chargeable to tax. Refund has been claimed by many persons. No embargo put in the act as compared to this amendment which has come over here. So I think that brings us to a finality on that provision regarding RCM on ocean freight. And here in this schedule 3, they have specifically mentioned that in case any tax has been paid, no refund shall be granted. One more amendment regarding place of supply. Section 12.8. This relates to place of supply of. I'll read the provision. The place of supply in case of transportation of goods where both supplier and recipient are located in India shall be location of registered supplier in case supplier is registered. It shall be the location at which goods are handed over for transportation in case of unregistered supply. Then there's a proviso which was inserted subsequently. I wonder why this proviso first came in, but maybe provided where the transportation of goods is to a place outside India, the place of supply shall be the place of destination of such goods. So let's take an example. A is a company in Mumbai, B is a company in Pune, B is transporting its goods to USA. So the destination of such goods is USA. If the destination of such goods is USA, then what becomes the place of supply? It is the destination of the goods. So although A and B are both in Maharashtra, the place of supply is outside Maharashtra. It becomes an interstate transaction. Till 1st October 2022, this was not an issue because in case of ocean freight, there was an exemption which was available to such kinds of transactions. But from 1st October 22, the sunset clause which was there for this type of transaction, since every year they were extending that sunset clause by one year. But on 30th September 2022, the sunset clause was not extended further. Hence, such transactions became liable to tax. Because when we read the GST law, we need to understand that when there's a sunset clause happening and from when the liability to tax occurs. Fair enough. So those became taxable. And as per this provision, the supply becomes an interstate supply. So what should be charged? IGST. If you charge IGST between this and the territory where the goods are going, say it is 96, which is outside the state, the recipient was not getting the credit. The government had to come out with a circular, a specific circular clarifying that what should be mentioned in place of supply in such cases, and they came out with a circular that other territories should be mentioned. And they also clarified a beneficial circular to that extent. They also clarified that ITC will be eligible to the recipient in such cases, although it is not reflecting, because being the place of supply other, as per the system generated ITC eligibility, ITC will not be eligible because the place of supply is in other state, right? So again, the system, the technological issue comes up, and ITC would not be available. So this is the current provision. Now, what is sought to be done is this proviso is proposed to be omitted, thus making a general rule applicable for all cases, including where goods are transported to a place outside India. So now what they are proposing, we are removing this proviso because this proviso is creating lots of hardship. Then if we allow a place of supply of other state to one dealer, then people will start claiming ITC of other states for other categories also. It will happen something like Mohit Mineral. Okay, so the government got wiser. They have proposed to omit this proviso. Of course, this will happen from a future date. And of course, and there was a recent GST and advisory also of how to mention in the form. You all can refer to that, how to mention such transaction in the form, because this will continue till the law becomes operative. Some changes in the IGST law also. I think this is the last topic on this on the amendments. OIDR transactions and non-taxable online recipient. Both these definitions have undergone changes. Just to give a general idea of what these OIDR and non-taxable online recipient are. First of all, what is OIDR transactions? Is transactions which are happening over the internet. Say for example, there's the company, say Google is there, and a person is having a Gmail account, and person wants to have some additional data drive, what we say, storage facility from Google. Google situated outside India, the person situated in India. Access happening through online platform. So in such cases, OIDR triggers. Now, whenever OIDR triggers, there are two parameters. Either the recipient is a registered person or is an unregistered person. And certain are government companies, and government companies, certain companies are there which are registered only for GST, TDS purposes. So basically, these are the categories of the dealer. So in such cases, there was always an issue that who would pay the tax, because the place of supply is in India. The service provider is outside India, service recipient is in India, place of supply is in India. So there's a liability in India. Now, wherever the person is registered, the registered person will have to pay GST under reverse charge mechanism on import of such services. Where the person is unregistered, the person providing such services, say Google Inc., will have to obtain a registration in India and charge GST under forward charge mechanism, because in such cases, say he's providing those services to say Alok Mehta, and say Alok Mehta is a person who is not registered under GST. So if Alok Mehta is not registered under GST, Google will have to charge GST to Alok Mehta, right? So these are the basic provisions. Now they have made certain changes in this definitions. Now, so this is the existing provision of a non-taxable online recipients. So whenever it is a sale to a government is a non-taxable online recipient in such case. Say we will stick to this one example only. There are various examples. OIDR is going to be the big thing, big controversy in the future, because the way digitalization and e-commerce is happening, the interpretation issues in OIDR are bound to enhance. So non-taxable online recipient means any government, local authority, government authority, individual, or any other person not registered and receiving online information and database access or retrieval services in relation to any purpose other than commerce, industry, or any other business or profession. So this was a big embargo over here, that whether Alok Mehta is availing that services for business purpose or non-business purpose, and there was no track or that the companies could establish. And if Alok Mehta is taking those services in relation to commerce, industry, or any business or profession, and if he's unregistered, What will be the scenario? There was an issue. Second, there was an issue in case of government authorities. For government, it is a non-taxable online recipient, but government entities are liable for registration under TDS. So what will happen in those cases? So lots of ambiguity was prevailing in such cases. Now they have changed the entire definition of non-taxable online recipient. Out of that big definition, they have made it very small and made it very simple. The new definition is non-taxable online recipient means any unregistered person receiving online information and database access or retrieval services located in the taxable territory. So the linkage with business has been removed. So whether you are a businessman or non-businessman, if you are unregistered, you become a non-taxable online recipient. There's an explanation which has been given which says that for the purposes of this clause, the expression unregistered person includes a person registered solely in terms of 24(6) of the CGST Act. This is for those government companies which are registered under GST only for TDS purposes. Say there's a municipal corporation which is registered only for TDS purposes and not for any other purpose. Then that, although that municipal corporation is registered, say Panvel Municipal Corporation is registered, then that will be considered to be an unregistered person. So basically, ultimately, the crux is that any out of those earlier 5 categories which were there, if the person is unregistered and if that entity is registered only for TDS purpose, it would still be considered to be an unregistered person. What will be the impact of this? That the linkage to commerce industry has now been removed. So the supply of OIDR services, there will be a enlargement of tax liability on such supply of OIDR services. And as I said, the rule will be very simple now. If the OIDR company is selling to providing services to unregistered person, that company will have to pay the tax, will have to register in India and pay under forward charge. If it is not having a registration in India, it will have to appoint a representative to get registered in India and pay tax on its behalf. Secondly, if that sale is to a registered person, he will not be considered to be a non-taxable online recipient. The registered person will have to discharge the liability. So if Alok Mehta and company is taking that data storage from Google, Alok Mehta and company will be liable for reverse charge mechanism. One more change which has come in OIDR, definition again is tinkered. Now let's understand one thing. Definition of OIDR is common. Section 14 of the IGST Act levies tax under OIDR for when there are two entities who are, say, the supplier of services outside India and the recipient is in India. That is under section 14 where reverse charge mechanism triggers. Fair enough. So wherever that is there, reverse charge mechanism will trigger. Now what has happened over here, this OIDR definition is a general definition which is applicable to all entities, whether that entity is outside India or in India. Generally, all these entities as of now are chargeable to tax, say, at the same rate. But in case if any of these entities is a rate, there will be a different rate which is applicable. And when we go to the definition of OIDR, advertising is covered, music, movies, storage, so many things are covered in that definition. Then everything will come to a different angle. But as of now, so I'm just telling that this is something which in future, this OIR definition which has been amended is a normal definition which is amended, not the sections 14 of the IGST Act which relates to reverse charge mechanism. So what is OIDR? That itself has been amended. So the existing provision says that OIDR means services whose delivery is mediated by information technology over the internet or an electronic network, and the nature of which renders their supply essentially automated and involving minimal human intervention and impossible to ensure in the absence of information technology, and includes electronic services such as advertising, cloud services, etc. etc. Right. So now what is proposed to be amended is the words which are underlined over here, essentially automated and involving minimum human intervention, is proposed to be omitted from this. Now, there are certain AR, certain judgments which had come up, wherein this human intervention, to what extent, what is minimal human intervention? That was a very ambiguous thing. How to identify that? I'll first take the example, and then I'll first take this illustration. There was an advanced authority ruling in the case of NCS Pearson, wherein the provisions relating to human intervention have been analyzed. So there's an online course which consists of pre-recorded videos. After the lockdown scenario, this online courses, pre-recorded videos, lots of change has come, and there are pre-recorded videos and downloadable PDF of those sessions. So whether OIDR, whether it was an OIDR before amendment, the answer is yes. It still remains OIDR after the amendment because everything is online. There are pre-recorded videos, no human intervention. Although there's a human who would have recorded that, but at the time of downloading, accessing, and retrieving that video, there is minimal human, or there is no human intervention, right? It is there, it is available. The recorded software is available on the website. You can download it, you can pay your fees, and you can attend the course. Now, a second scenario: online course consisting of pre-recorded videos and downloadable PDFs plus support from a live tutor, right? So although that tutor may be having recorded videos, whenever on need basis, that tutor may come live and he may teach the students. So there, he was not an OIDR because there was a human intervention to that, and they were not being considered as OIDR. After the amendment, that human intervention has been removed. So in such cases, although there is human intervention, it will be triggered to be an OIDR after the amendment, wherein in the NCS Pearson cases, such cases were held to be not liable for OIDR services. So I think this is going to be the main impact on these services. There is one more word in this section, and which I should say, impossible to ensure in the absence of information technology. This also is a very interpretative word which can lead to various, whether it is impossible to ensure in the absence of technology or it can be ensured, right? So I think this OIDR controversy is still not settled, although they have tried to remove it from in one way. They have tried to reduce the interpretation issue in one way, but it is going to trigger various issues. As and when we come across various scenarios, we'll have to actually try to understand. A normal email, say if somebody comes to Alok Mehta for an opinion and tells to give him an opinion, and he makes an opinion and sends it through email, will it be OIDR? According to me, no, that's not OIDR because it is not online access information and database access retrieval. So sending anything through email will not be termed as OIDR, although the human intervention is there or it is minimal. So I think that there is a differentiation in that. Let's see how things develop, but these are going to be litigative matters for the future. There are certain changes with regards to penalty and decriminalization. I think that we can skip. That is not much. And the monetary limits for prosecution have been enhanced from 100 lakhs to 200 lakhs, except for offenses of fake invoices. Fake invoices offense, the monetary limit for imprisonment is not changed. For other than fake invoices, if there are any other offenses which are there in the law, for them, they have made the changes. Compounding of offenses, I think the only change which has come is the minimum compounding fees have been changed. Earlier it was 10,000 or 50% of tax was minimum. Now that minimum has become 25% of tax, and maximum is 100% of the tax involved. And this is only a consent-based sharing of information. The government has taken powers. So the powers are that if a person, say, there's a dealer who has furnished his forms 3B, 9, and registration application, and any other details which are prescribed. Those details are available on the portal. If the GST portal wants to give it to some other authorized agency, they will take consent from the supplier in such case. In case if there is certain information which is linked to the receiver also, say GSTR 1 e-invoice and e-way bill, where the recipient's name is there, they will take information from the recipient also in such cases. Both the supplier and the recipient will have to provide their consent in such cases. They may provide, they may not provide. What happens if they don't provide? Nothing as of now has been spelled out if you don't provide the consent. But the way sharing of information between various government agencies is happening, these powers have been taken by the government, and days will not be far off when the data will be shared to notified agencies. They cannot share it to any person. Any other person or any competitor cannot come and take this data. It can only go to notified persons and not to anyone else. Well, friends, I think these were some of the budget proposals which could have an impact on our GST calculations or the GST law that we have been practicing. And the proposals are few, and most of them have already come through the various notifications. There's a GST Council meeting coming very soon on 18th of February. Let's see what comes in that. But for us as GST practitioners, we need not wait for the budget. Every few months, there are amendments like a full-fledged budget, and we have to study the law and keep on studying. In case if there are any questions, I'll be glad to take them. And thank you very much to all the organizations for giving me this opportunity for sharing my views on Union Budget Indirect Tax Proposals 2023. And thank you very much for a patient hearing.
Pleasure, sir. It was fantastic hearing and so in-depth, so fantastic. It was really very good. I would like any members to ask any questions if there are any, so that we can have one or two questions, because we are already very late, but we can still take one or two questions if possible. So Pranav, I have a question on this OIDR. Like when we say that these are the online services, so when we go for automated backup services from multiple vendors, okay, the AWS is provided by the AWS server. From there are vendors, and from there it goes to the customer. So who would be liable under this? Because we are not purchasing directly from AWS, Amazon Web Services. So what is it? Anything, if you could just throw light on this slightly?
Yeah, so I think what your query is on Section 14 of the IGST Act, and where there are intermediaries who are facilitating the foreign-based suppliers, the suppliers who are based in the foreign countries. Say Amazon is foreign-based, and they have appointed an intermediary, and that intermediary is issuing invoices on behalf of Amazon. Then that Indian intermediary will be liable to for all these provisions will become applicable to that intermediary instead of Amazon.
Okay.
So, but that is in case of transactions which are international transactions from outside India to within India. If it is within India, then normal forward charge will apply.
Normal forward charge will be applicable.
If, if the transaction is, if that entity gets registered in India, so again you need to ensure one more thing. Whenever these entities are registered under OIDR, there's a single registration all over India for those entities, and they are under that state code 99. So the GST and registration number itself is a separate registration number for such entities. So from that we can identify.
Right. Nice. There's one more question in the chat box. Amol Bhai has asked, sales of nil-related goods, cattle feeds only, whether we have to take GST registration turnover more than 2 crores, exempt goods, that is nil-related, cattle feeds. So is the registration required?
Correct. So
No.
yeah. So if these are nil-related and exempted goods, then you need not apply for registration. Section 23.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Superb. Yeah. Pradeep Bhai is having some questions. Pradeep Bhai?
No.
No questions.
Right.
Yeah. Before that, I think I also recognize the presence of Ayaz Khan, Secretary TBA Association, Sandeep Agrawal, Executive Member of TBA, and also Advocate Yash Sharma. Thank you to all of them. They are making this occasion very light and all. Yeah. If no questions are there, I think we can straight away go for vote of thanks. And Pranav, I think fantastic. Very deeply you have taken care and all. Each and every provision minutely you have taken. And I think hats off to you guys that you've done very nice. As already I told you that Lions of Walkeshwar, FST and all of them, VTPA, we are providing quality speaker, and this is what we are. That is also quality to you, and that's the reason I again request members, please join in time. Avoid disappointment, then you can go with the live YouTube and all. I also thankful on my behalf, my secretary Hemant Jain, Vinesh Shah, and I also recognize the presence of Sundar Bodara, our region chairperson in this occasion. So thanks to all of them. My team is fantastic of the Lions of Walkeshwar, and thanks to Anil Pandey. I think without Anilji's support, I think we could not go live stream to Lion International. So Anil Bhai, thank you so much. Lastly, my dear friend Jagdish Sharma from Amravati, I think hats off to him, and really he was always there with us. VTPA or Amravati, they are very well there. And most special thanks to always to our Lion Pradeep Kapadia, PDG, who are always been there with us. And so, Puneet, let's go with the vote of thanks. Okay,
Yes.
and
So-
thank you, Pranav. Once again to you. Keep coming, keep calling you and all. Please
Thanks,
do
sir. It was a pleasure being here.
So while Alok Bhai has acknowledged the presence of all the dignitaries and this thing, let me reserve my special thanks for Pranav Bhai for making the session insightful today. So much with deep precision you have informed such and such things. I remember when this budget came out and I was there at APMH. Your firm and the team discussed that Nirmala Ben did not even discuss what indirect tax amendments are. And see, look at these 1 hour, 1.5 hour where we went it, and it is so deep that each and everything. Although they are not biting as direct taxes immediately, the bite is little away. But then these are the things where one needs to understand, and that is where the role of Foundation for Skill Development, when they are giving the GST training and the Lions Club is coming up, that knowledge, once you gather, you can plan your things for the future. So that is very nice of you, sir, for making this session so fantastic. Once again, I request the members to carry out with a loud applause and with warm hearts. I thank you. And as informed by Alok Bhai, we will once again request you in near future to come up with more on GST and such indirect tax provisions. And I thank all the members on behalf of Lions Club of Walkeshwar and Foundation of Skill Development and all the other joining association, Vidhab Tax Practitioners Association and other associations, which has been instrumental in ensuring that chartered accountants and everyone are joining from multiple things. Zoom has enabled all of us to come together and share our knowledge. Let's make more and more such interesting sessions under the leadership of Alok Bhai and do further things. Thank you, everyone.